What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the reunion of Final Fantasy VII Remake podcast. I am your host, Kai, and joining me again today is my co-host, Vyzz. How are you doing, Vyzz?
I'm good, thank you so much. Still working on the intermission video, but otherwise it's all good and dandy. Also playing Trails of Cold Steel 2, and this is just, this is healing for the mind. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for asking. I've just been, working, and the weather's been really nice around here. I was on vacation last week, so I got to go out and just, go for some long walks with my dog. And that was super enjoyable, just to go into the wilderness and have a break, from everything. It was perfect, so.
Sounds really good.
And today I'm super excited because we have an extra special guest here with us today. It's Schrodingersbabyseal.
Hi guys, how are you today?
Still good. How about you?
Fun fact, I've been here this whole time. I know it sounds crazy, but I've been here. I'm doing good. Just been kind of working on some stuff in the background for SEAL Team 7, getting some guests for the future, some fun and interesting guests, and then also been playing Near Replicant.
Oh,
right, I've seen that, yeah.
2.2 whatever, the square root of 1.5, and it is it's distractingly good, and so I might need to take some breaks from that.
Nice.
I want to play that at some point as well, but right now it's still Trails of Cold Steel 2 time.
Honestly, Nier is the only other fan, the only other bit of non-collegiate lore that I have as much expertise as I do as Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, nice.
And it's as somebody that studied philosophy, it's just so heavy with references to philosophy and mythology and just general history.
Oh,
It's sort of hard to find like an infectious level of connection to that source material all the way back to the Drakengard series. So definitely.
Nier Automata is also rife with philosophy stuff. It's really good. I love it.
Absolutely, yeah. And the way they all tie together, the icebergs of connections are, I could easily just talk for 8 straight hours about everything that Nier accomplishes through its bizarre expressions, all the way from obviously it's video games, but there's stage plays that you need to have watched that are lore important. Like, can you imagine if you had to if you had to watch stage plays in order to understand Final Fantasy VII? That'd be nuts. Well, you have to for Nier. So that's the kind of stuff that you look forward to with Nier.
We might have to have watched Loveless or something for this.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Right? From everything that we're, all the information that we're getting here, but yeah.
Tetsuya Nomura also wanted to do a stage play for Final Fantasy 15 or turn this story into a stage play at some point, or at least had ideas. So wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility. So
exactly. Yeah, it was supposed to be a musical, I think, versus 13 at first, but then
yeah.
changed their minds.
That's too bad. I think there's a lost potential there. All of 13 is such a tragedy.
Yeah.
The whole versus 13 thing is really just, it's a tragedy. And I recently just I beat Yozora on Kingdom Hearts 3. I finally went through that whole thing, and it just made me remember what that was like, and it was pretty fun. So I wish they could, if there's anything that I want Nomura to get like a real do-over on, it's versus 13.
Or just get Verum Rex going. Kind of
exactly.
kind of like an homage to what should have been.
Well, I mean, it seems like it's going that way. It seems like Verum Rex. I don't know. I just wouldn't even be surprised if we saw Verum Rex in Neo: The World Ends with You.
Oh, right, could be as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just the way that it seems like it's going. I mean, if there were any non-Final Fantasy VII character that would show up in Final Fantasy VII at this point, I'd say it's Yuzora. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Do not quote me as saying that happens. Unless it happens, in which case I totally said that. Copyright Schrodinger's Babyseal.
Yeah, we'll have to see, I guess, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
All right, guys. So the best way to support us here on the podcast is to like, sub, and share the podcast. Hop on over to our YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And also subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And also, you guys, we are doing an incredible giveaway right now. So on our Twitter, we are giving away a digital deluxe edition copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake to one lucky listener. So here's what you have to do. So follow us on Twitter at reunion_podcast. And then go ahead and retweet or quote tweet the original giveaway posting that's actually pinned to the top of our Twitter profile. And the winner will be drawn when Intergrade releases on June the 10th. So be sure to check out our socials on June 10th for the announcement of the winner of that Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade Digital Deluxe Edition. So Vyzz, what's been going on over at Cosmo Canyon Observatory?
Quite a lot, actually. So I think I don't quite remember the timing of the last episode's release and my own video releases, but I think the addendum to game analysis number 24 hasn't been out yet at that point. So it is out now. I actually had it ready on the day the Intergrade trailers dropped, so I had to postpone that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I re-recorded the intro and then just uploaded it. And it basically covers all the additional findings regarding Aerith and her shenanigans and what I didn't discover before, and some stuff about Chadley, which we incidentally also talked about on Babyseal's SEAL Team 7 discussion I had the honor to be a part of at a few weeks ago. I don't remember when it was exactly. And there we talked about Chadley from the future stuff. It was pretty interesting. Yes, and then on top of that, Pulse of the Livestream episode 2 has been released, which tackles the nuances of upgrading to the PS5 version, because this is you basically have to study it and get the professor's grade to know what exactly is going on.
You need a textbook, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we've got you covered, and some other news, of course, and some news from the community. It's a really good episode, so if you haven't watched it yet, please do. Even if you have watched or followed the news. And lastly, I'm currently working on the intermission analysis, and I'm still need to cut it a little bit of post editing, adding music, then it should be good. By the time this episode releases, it might already be live on Cosmo Canyon Observatory, so you probably just can go over and watch it if you haven't already. And it will just cover the screenshots, some more information about Vyzz and the implications of his existence there, and some more thoughts about those enigmatic lines we'll get to later in this episode here as well. I think that's about it.
Well, I can't wait to see what you come up with for the intermission analysis. I'm super excited to see that. All right, guys, so today we will be talking about the recently released Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade Intermission character profiles that were released in a recent Famitsu article. Also, Square Enix posted an article on their NA Press website. We'll be talking about the new gameplay elements. We will also be discussing new character reveals, what they may mean for the story of Intermission, and the subsequent parts of Final Fantasy VII Remake. We also got VA announcements for all the Intermission's voice cast, which was amazing. And we'll be touching on that a little bit as well. But before we start our conversation about that, Babyseal, I want you to tell our listeners who you are and exactly what you do for those who may not know that.
Thank you. So my main contribution to the fandom right now is probably SEAL Team 7, which is a platform conversation for content creators, specifically theory crafters and the occasional just random content creator to come on, and we generally will in sometimes spicy fashion predict the future of Final Fantasy VII Remake, because that's how Remake was presented, as this mystery chock full of infinite potential, and so taking the fandom's very very wide array of takes on that, and putting all of said takes creators into one room together can come up with some fascinating combinations and conversations. My very first episode had Vyzz here on, and it was very fun. Since then, we've had various combinations of MJ Gallagher, Sleep Easy.
Yeah.
Ray Kaufman came on, and that was a great episode. Blitz came on, and then Final Fantasy Peasant. That was a huge episode, and that one went really wild. Went for the absolute stars. And then just yesterday we had BioRoxas, who, although he's known more for his Kingdom Hearts content, also does just about any Square game. He covers it, and Remake is one of his favorite ones. And that conversation had less to do with the direction of the series and more to do with combat, and so that was a very, very exciting conversation. And then the other thing that I've got going is I've got a series of debunk videos that I take very popular, I'll just call them poorly structured theories that have populated the infosphere, and deconstruct them in small little bits. I'm my intro to the series, titled "Tifa Dies?" should be releasing sometime next week, and they're just little 5-minute deconstructions. So those are always exciting.
Really looking forward to those, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. There's a ton of them. Like anybody that's explored the fandom will see some really, really insane off base theories everywhere. Not just like,
sorry, for example, number 2 is Zack.
Number 2 is Zack is a very old theory, and it predates Remake by quite some measure.
Oh right, I've heard about that too. Yeah. Right.
And because it was a, and we can talk about that at length later, but that's definitely going to be one of them. That's definitely going to be one of them. And so that's kind of the gist of what I do, and I'm excited for the future, and I've got some more other secret community based plans coming up. I've got some new fun guests for SEAL Team 7 coming up over the next few weeks, and I know that Vyzz is going to be in the mix for one of those episodes too. Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely incredible, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here today to talk with us about Final Fantasy VII, Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade, and I appreciate you and your content and your contribution to the Final Fantasy VII and 7 Remake community. It's just been great to watch you, and the thing that I love so much about this game is that not everything is just kind of spoon-fed to you. There are questions, like this game asks more questions than it answers. And for me, like at the end when I was finished playing this game, I love the fact that I had so many questions and I wanted to find out information. So I went online and I was researching and trying to find, other people that had this similar thought process that I had, or, were asking the same questions about the ending of this game that I was asking. And just to see, you have this platform and you're having these, other members of the community, the content creator, Final Fantasy VII community coming on and theory crafting and doing all of that. It's just so great, and it's providing so much content, and I just love it so much, and I feel like it's such an engaging platform that you have. So I just want to say thank you so much for that.
You're more than welcome, and thank you for being a fan, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I can only second what Karos has said. It's really, really valuable contribution to the fandom, and I'm also really humbled to be part of it sometimes.
Oh, you're always welcome, Vyzz. You know that.
I know.
All right, guys. So the first thing we're going to do today is we are going to break down this press article from the Square Enix press website here. We're going to talk a little bit more about Intermission and Intermission's gameplay. So there was some information given on the website here, so I'm just going to quickly read through some of the information that we got about the gameplay. So it said, as a member of Wutai's elite corps of ninja operatives, Yuffie's unique ability allows her to throw her iconic massive throwing star at enemies. And then during that time, she's able to attack with long-range ninjutsu that can be augmented with her elemental ninjutsu ability, which can change its affinity to fire, ice, lightning, or wind. And then she also has an ability called Banishment, which unleashes an attack that does more damage based on how much ATB was spent before. Similarly to her unique ability, its elemental affinity can be changed with elemental ninjutsu. And Yuffie can also use Windstorm, which creates a damaging gust of wind that damages nearby enemies and launches them towards her. So I'm just going to quickly give my thoughts here about her combat that was described in this article. So I'm loving this new combat style. I think that we're getting the best of both worlds here. We are getting long range and also close range attacks, and we're getting like a combination of the two, which is, I think, going to provide a good balance there. And she seems super fast as well, like very nimble. She's able to move around the battlefield quite well and quite fast. So she's able to jump in and jump out at any given time, do, lots of damage close up, and then kind of, take some refuge and jump out of the battle still while doing damage. But also to, for those of you who want to play a little bit more defensively, I like that. So far, I think we've only seen elemental ninjutsu abilities. Like we've seen from the UI menu, you know what I mean? Like I don't think that we've seen any magic use, like materia magic use. Vyzz, maybe you can answer this question because you've watched the trailer and you've been slowing it down and you've been, with your extra large magnifying glass going through like each frame by frame here. So I just kind of asked the question, like, do you think we'll see the use of magic materia, or do you think we'll just see more like independent or command materia?
I was thinking about that myself. In one of the screenshots, we can see green magic materia lying around. So I hope this is a new one, not just another healing materia or something like that. But I'm not getting my hopes up, but I still can hope. Other than that, yeah, there are confirmed new materia, but it's just there's just too little evidence to go on. Like practically no evidence. We just know which colors they have equipped. 2 purple ones on Sonon and 3 different colored ones on unique Yuffie's throwing star shuriken, but that's about it. So I'm not quite comfortable in making predictions. I did a little bit in the past, but yeah. I prefer to make predictions with at least semi-solid evidence.
Yeah. I think we could comfortably say there will be new summons.
Yes.
But magic is sort of out of our ability to predict at this point. I hope so, because Yuffie was a pretty proficient magic user in the OG.
Yeah.
So that would be nice, but it is what it is. So I'm not sure either. I wouldn't make a prediction.
I know that in the trailer you can see there's a green materia equipped there, so that tells me, okay, yes, there's going to be magic materia that you're going to be able to use, but from what we've seen, we've only seen the elemental ninjutsu like ability attack. So I hope that we get both, but like you guys said, it is too early to kind of make a prediction here about whether it's going to be in or not. I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. The only thing I just can maybe a little bit predict is her equipped magic materia. Healing would be beneficial for gameplay reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and wind would fit to Yuffie's kind of affinity to wind. Because in the one
Right.
screenshot where she performs her hold down square attack, the attack kind of looks like or has wind effects, wind-like effects.
Yeah.
So, she also has this ability Windstorm. So it seems she's more towards wind and also speed. So it could be that it's either healing or wind. That's just my current prediction based on those facts, and that's about everything I can
Yeah.
say. The rest is just, yeah, throwing spaghetti at the wall
Mm-hmm.
and see what sticks.
Yeah. All right, so moving on here. So what do you think about abilities attached to weapons? Like I know obviously in Final Fantasy VII Remake, each weapon had its own special ability that is unlockable after, you get 100% proficiency on that specific weapon, and then you can use that ability at any time. Didn't matter like what weapon you had equipped after you had 100% proficiency. So what do you think about that? Like, do you think we'll see more different types of weapons, or are we just going to see, like, I know that we have the Cactuar Star, that obviously, so do you think that one will have a unique ability as well as...
That almost makes me think we won't, because we got no DLC weapons in Remake, and I think the reason is that, having a full ability attached to a weapon that you can learn regardless of what you do with the weapon makes its impact on combat a lot less inconsequential than, say, there were summon materia that were actually kind of broken DLC, like Carbuncle's the only good summon, but beyond that, like all the armor that you got was just like whatever. It really no end game build used those armors. So having something like as game changing as a proficiency ability from a weapon, I would kind of be surprised if that weapon proficiency ability still held in Intermission for Yuffie, just because of a DLC weapon. Otherwise, people would just get mad.
Or this Cactuar weapon just doesn't have any ability attached to it, and the others
that's
do.
true. They could do that.
Yeah, because we do see one weapon chest in Avalanche's hideout. So at least
a
one
weapons chest. Yeah,
exactly. At least one she does get in one new weapon, and we see 3 abilities. One is innate. One is attached to her weapon that she has with her from the start, the normal shuriken. And the third one is probably the one she receives from this additional weapon. Maybe there's a 4th one in Chapter 2, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, actually. That does make sense, just that it doesn't have a unique ability that's unlockable that you can use at any time. I would understand if they didn't have that included in this. Obviously, like, what do you think about the different number of materia slots in each weapon? Do you think that they will be different depending on which weapon, or do you think it'll be the base like amount each time, and each weapon has different stats, obviously? So what do you think about that?
I think it will be pretty much the same as in the base game. Each weapon has its own base stats and can be then upgraded differently depending on their main weapon affinity, like more physical, more magical, more special abilities, like getting HP when killing an enemy or what have you. I don't see them changing this up too much right now. Maybe for part 2.
Yeah, maybe for part 2, but yeah, I would be surprised if there wasn't an SP system like there was in the last one. That allowed you to upgrade weapons, and I'd also be surprised if you could fully upgrade it the first playthrough. Just like in the base game, you need to play in hard mode to fully upgrade your weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they keep that system, because that was enjoyable. I liked the fact that you could upgrade the weapons, and because it made them like more effective over time and more useful as well. Because in the original, you would just get a weapon, and then you just eventually wouldn't use it anymore because the materia slots were too low, or you know what I mean? Like later game, you're not using those unless you know, there's these insane builds where people play through the whole game with the nail bat, and like that's just their thing and that's their build, and which is insane. And I've watched like videos on this and I'm like, holy crap, like that's so
yeah, that's my jam. I love that nail bat.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's your weapon, right? That's your weapon.
Well, I mean, I mean, the cool thing is that you do get materia slots on the nail bat. So, you know, and it's one of the things that incentivizes replay on Remake so well, is that you know, not only was the plot so confusing that it merited a couple of playthroughs, but the combat system was built to be played more than once.
Yeah.
You cannot play hard mode until you've beat it, and you shouldn't be able to. It is scaled appropriately so that it's sort of meant to be played at level 50. And I hope they just carry that exact system into Intermission. You know, you play through it once and you have no idea what happened the whole time. And then you play through it again, you know, and spend 4 hours looking at every texture like Vyzz and I, and you know, get Yuffie to level 50, and you know, and all that stuff, so that you can just you know, destroy Shulk or Genesis or whoever the secret boss is going to be.
Exactly. And also go through another top secret number 2.0 and get Götterdämmerung 2.0 and then destroy every boss with that.
Oh yeah. I want whatever the weird crazy thing you get from the Intermission secret boss is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like what you said about just playing through it the first time and having no idea what's happening, and then having to come back and play it again, and then maybe go watch, you know, Baby Seal's 4-hour like theory crafting and like explanation about
we will definitely
what happened in the story of Intermission. Then I'll come back and I'll play it again, and then I'll go watch Vyzz's 4-hour analysis.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, that is officially how you're supposed to consume this media, guys. So
exactly.
Approved.
Well, from all the information that we've gotten so far about the combat, it does make me super excited. And you know, especially too, we haven't even talked about the team up or the combo attacks with Sonnen just kind of thrown into the mix, and whatever abilities they'll be able to use together, plus everything else that we're getting. It's just seems like it's actually like completely different game, like extra game, you know, on top of Remake. It's just like it seems like they really did work hard on giving us like a different gameplay experience through the battle system, and I can't wait to play this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. I think one of the interesting bits about the way they're doing this is that since we are going to see more of the character, it's also an introduction to a concept. Whereas if you look at the DLC for, you know, the only comparable title that's modern enough to have something that sets precedent for this is Final Fantasy 15, and all that DLC was sort of after the fact. So they would create these new systems, you know, that were independent and did not operate within the main game. And so they were, you know, you would have to learn a whole new thing for each DLC, and it still felt like Final Fantasy 15, and I would argue some of it was actually really good and improved the base game. But in Remake, what we're looking at is we're being introduced to something that's going to be implemented moving forward. And so that's a much more, I think, salient experience for the player to consume. I mean, and it's exciting enough that a lot of people are, you know, are scrambling to get yet like another console to play. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hands up over here, because I don't have one yet, so I need to get one by June 10th.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I also have a few things to say and a little addendum to this. So, in general, as you said, Yuffie seems very interesting to play, like this combination between close range and long range. But not only that, also the combination between her different moves and abilities seem to really work well together. So, in general, it's with her, you have to look more for her positioning, like where she is and when you need to use what. Like if you're far away, you can throw her throwing star and then immediately practically teleport to this enemy where you threw the star at. So it's easy to gain distance or closer distance to an enemy. But you can also gain distance again by holding square. But then you can draw the enemy towards you with Windstorm. And it's just, it seems really insane and very, very interesting and a cool way to play, I guess. And then there's also the exploitation of the enemy's weakness with her elemental ninjutsu. And then the switch between physical and magical attacks. If you don't know what you mean, please watch the third part of my rough analysis series about the Intergrade trailer. So she can use normal as a physical attacks with her shuriken, magical attacks with her ninjutsu attacks, which engage when she's not in possession of a shuriken right now. But while she's doing that, the shuriken sits at some enemy's head and just spins and deals damage every 48 frames. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
It sounds crazy. And on the concept of ninjutsu, I'm not sure how into legacy Final Fantasies you are, but the job system has always sort of attached ninjutsu to either like built-in elemental weakness exploitation and status changes. So status and element are all built into that. So what's exciting to me about this inclusion with Yuffie's combat is that it's essentially finding even more of a way to implement this job concept into Remake's combat, which means that for future characters, we're going to see more identity with the combat system of all characters, because for all of OG's strengths near endgame, I mean, it's all just like every character is about the same. It's just, it has to do with your limit break. It's like your limit breaks and materia are all that you use. You stop using magic altogether at a certain point. I mean, like it's basically just everybody set up with, mime and, final attack with
exactly.
Final attack with Phoenix, and you're just on this never die loop, and and everybody's just a palette swap. Like it doesn't even matter who the character is, and so creating this identity attached to each character's combat style that makes it feel more like, this is a representation of a job class, will make you make tactical decisions about your party, and not just you just put your favorite 3 people and then equip them with the same materia and then just plow through the game.
Each one of them has a master materia, and then they all have the abilities anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all. And I think there will be elements of that. I mean, there already kind of is. You can make any character into something a little bit different than his or her design if you want. I mean, and do that. So that's still true to the OG experience. But also, I mean, that was the most exciting thing about seeing ninjutsu as a job class being represented through Yuffie. So I'm really excited to see what that means for like Kate Sith and for Sid as a dragoon, job class, and
especially Vincent.
And Vincent, however they do Vincent, Vincent, there's so much pressure for them to get Vincent right.
Yeah, that's true.
Vincent needs a after Dirge, Vincent needs a full-blown Metal Gear Solid Revengeance level kind of like what they did with MGS4 in redeeming the character of Raiden. I'm not sure if you guys remember the experience of Metal Gear Solid 2, but
I do, yeah.
But he was so mad at Raiden for being a thing, for existing. How dare he? And then they totally redeemed him in 4 by turning him into like a nightmare cyborg robot that was just like killing these weird cows and stuff like that. And so yeah, if they've got to pull something like that for Dirge with Vincent, because Vincent's still a big fan fave, and it would just be horrible to think that like you just switch to Vincent and it turns to Dirge's combat. Like that'd be so crazy bad. But I think it's going to be something that really, I think what this shows, I guess what I'm getting at is that what this shows is that they're really thinking hard about how each character is going to have its own identity. Each character is going to want you to play. You're going to want to play every single character in your party, and no matter what. So yeah, I'm excited.
Definitely. And for Vincent, I kind of low-key hoping for his triangle ability to be a sniper scope to snipe far away enemies or something like that. It would be pretty sick. Maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. Just the thought crossed my mind, and
that would be cool.
No, I'd be down. Yeah.
Speaking of abilities, what I'm also really looking forward to is the banishment ability, which you can charge up by using other abilities and ATB in general. Unfortunately, only to level 3, but it would be overpowered otherwise. But what I still not quite sure of is if it also inflicts status effects. Probably not, because we don't see the enemy being inflicted by anything. Well, they could just be disabling those UI elements, but it doesn't. Does it say when the enemy is resistant to something, like resistant to poison or something? I think it just doesn't hit, right?
I think so.
Or does it say resistant?
The UI will say no effect.
All right, it says no effect, right? Because I've been playing so much Trails of Cold Steel, it always says resist. So I'm constantly thinking of that one.
I think that it does show the numbers and they're purple, aren't they? And then it says
no, it says immune, because it's immune against magical attacks. That's why. But it doesn't say no effect or something. But it does look like it's inflicting poison or something because of the purple effect, purple gust of fog or something that turns into black and then dissipates.
Banishment in almost every other Final Fantasy is a debuff.
So, yeah, exactly. That's why I also think it could be one.
It generally will do defense down and darkness.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I don't know if that's what's going to happen here. Yeah, I don't think there's a defense down debuff that's been programmed into Remake. So
probably not. I don't think
darkness is really the only one. Yeah.
Darkness, yeah. Could be because we don't see the enemy's HP bar or anything like that, and we don't see if the enemy, the boss there, is afflicted by anything, so it's hard to say. But I kind of hope it does inflict something, because, as you said, it would be true to ninjutsu using characters like Yuffie and others in the franchise. And my last point is about synergized abilities. Windstorm is also can also be used as synergized Windstorm with Sonon together. So I really like how normal abilities can be used in synergized form. And Sonon seems to have Art of War, I guess, unless this is also a Yuffie thing, maybe. Who knows?
Okay.
But as I also talked about in previous analysis, that there's one single frame during one short clip where you see that the synergized words disappear, and it only says Art of War and Windstorm in Yuffie's tactical mode menu. Or was it a shortcut? I think it was a shortcut. But yeah, there's just two modes: synergized when Sonon is probably close by, and then single use or solo use. And that's also something I'm really looking forward to. How exactly do those synergized abilities work, and the team up attacks? Like, technically, does Sonon just need to be close by, or do you need to activate something? Is there a button to switch something? Because I can't really see any button being free for that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, maybe he casts it or something, because you can issue, like, you can't switch to him as a character, but you can issue him commands, right? Like from the menu.
Oh, you mean that it might only be used be able to use synergized attacks when you issue commands to Sonon. And if Yuffie just uses it by herself, it's unsynergized. It could be, yeah. That's a good idea.
Just a thought that I had.
That could work.
Yeah. I mean, it's anybody's guess until we see more footage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
But I am really enjoying, these additions to the gameplay and the battle system, and I do hope that they do continue into the future parts of Remake. And I remember that, Vyzz, we did talk about this, I think, on the last episode as well, that it's like they're trying out these systems now, in this DLC, because they built this version for the PS5 only. And it's like they're kind of getting into, the development for the PS5 and testing it and just kind of testing the waters a little bit to see, how this is and how it's received, I think. And then they're going to use that information to incorporate or maybe change this a little bit into the subsequent parts of the remake. And I love that. I hope that it continues. I think that these team up attacks really add a new element to the battle system. And this is kind of what I wanted in the OG, in the first part of the remake. And I remember when the screenshots were released, it looked like Tifa was jumping off of Cloud's Buster Sword or something. And we were like, oh God, this is way before we had any information about anything. And we were just looking at screenshots and, analyzing everything. And we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they had these team up attacks? It looks like she's jumping off his sword and everything. And it didn't turn out. But I think that it's a huge opportunity for them right now to kind of surprise us and add this in and in these subsequent parts. And I hope that, it's expanded upon. And I really do want aerial combat to be improved.
Yes.
Which is really difficult to be able to do, especially when you don't have a jump. You can't jump and attack. Right? So I was thinking about that. I'm like, they're going to have to, if they want you to be able to attack in the air, you're going to have to give us a jump button. I'm not talking about Final Fantasy 15. That's almost too much, but I feel like there's a happy medium between the two. I would like to be able to jump and attack. I don't know. Anyway, it's just my opinion.
Yeah, if there's a button free for that, why not? Just incorporate jump into battle, but not outside, because then it won't be Final Fantasy VII anymore, in my opinion.
I didn't mind that there wasn't a jump button. I didn't care about that,
same.
But it just felt like in battle, when you would just jump into the air and slash and stuff, it just kind of was abrupt, and I couldn't control it as well as
a bit wonky,
when I wasn't doing that. So
I feel like if they created a chase system that was a little bit more dynamic, maybe a button to more just approach or charge the enemy,
dash,
regardless,
so to speak.
Like a dash button that doesn't necessarily relate to whether or not you're jumping or you're dashing towards the, it will trace no matter if high or low. I could see that working wellish with the combat as it is. I am very reticent about a jump button. So I just am,
Yeah. I'm thinking of Devil May Cry, but that's too much, because it's not that type of game, because they still have the ATB bar and they still have the magic system and the commands with the UI and everything. I think that there's a happy medium between that plus, 15 was kind of too much for me. It was just all around, and you're just flying and, in and out of everywhere, and it was kind of too much. But I think that if they could just take that and perfect it and just give us something so that it's improved, then it'll be golden. I'll be super happy about that.
Yes, definitely. However, with this Yuffie episode here, I think there is an approach, because Yuffie can easily just from far away throw her throwing star, then it sticks to the enemy, then she zooms to the enemy, as we've seen in a trailer against the Lesser Drake.
Oh yeah.
And then she can perform her aerial combo. And this works very well for her. However, for the others, it probably doesn't. But then I think they should incorporate abilities or just something that they can do something similar, like Cloud maybe also throw his sword, a sword throw ability, just normal one you learn from, I don't know, Force Dealer. I have no idea. No, Force Dealer is most likely something like Soul Drain. But just from another weapon, you sword throw. And then he can throw his sword, kind of like boomerang style, and when it hits, then he automatically jumps to the sword, and then you can perform an air combo just to make it a little bit easier. For Tifa, like something a modified uppercut of sorts. I don't know. Aerith and Barret don't have the same problem because they don't have aerial combat, so that's good. And Cat Chi or Kate Sith, I don't know. Maybe the Moogle can just throw the cat at the enemy or something. I don't know.
Oh, that
he
would be
just
cool.
shouts at him anyways.
Or true.
He just megaphones him straight out of the air.
Right.
I want that megaphone to be so over the top, like extra. Like I want it to be like, I want it to be the thing that forces the game to go to M rating. Like he just shouts, and then all of their skin just peels off, and you're like, whoa, Kate Sith is baller.
Face melter.
Yes, exactly.
My God.
Yeah, no, I'm for that.
That would be incredible.
In general, Kate Sith needs to be completely over the top in every aspect.
Yeah.
The way he talks and gestures and presents himself and performs himself in battle, uses abilities, uses normal attacks, and even the dodge maneuver. Like the Moogle just rolls over and she has to run on the Moogle itself or something crazy. I don't know. just make him completely hilarious to make a stark contrast to the severity of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, just go crazy. I love that. Just campy, just camp it up. Just give it to us. All right, guys, so moving on here, we are talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade, intermissions, voice actors, and new characters that were revealed. So, Vyzz, did you want to go through the list of voice actors and characters because you're so incredible at pronouncing these
Well, I can try.
names? Well, you're way better than I am because I literally,
ones,
just butcher everybody's name. So I'm just going to let you go for it.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll try my best.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So first we have, of course, Yuffie Kisaragi, who is voiced by Susie Young, or Young, I think. I don't quite know how it's pronounced. I think Young. Sonon Ksakbe, voiced by Alex Lay. Then we have Vyzz, with a V, not a W, Vyzz. I learned the hard way. Voiced by Damon Mills. Then we have Jije, and I looked it up actually how the Chinese would pronounce it, and
that's dead on. It's
Jije. Jije, but according to the Chinese pronunciation, it would be Jije. It's a Jije. It's really strange, but apparently it is like that. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But yeah, the Japanese pronunciation is just Jije, like the katakana they use. And this lovely character is voiced by Griffin Puatu. I hope it's not butchered.
You got it.
Then we have Nayo, voiced by Ashley Böttcher. Also, that's the German pronunciation. I don't know. How would you say it in English? English pronunciation? Böttcher?
Betcher. It'd be Betcher. Yeah.
Like the Badger, the animal. Kind of. Betcher.
Like bet.
Yeah, you betcher.
Yeah. You betcher.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes. Then we have our resident Billy Bob. Couldn't be more generic. Voiced by David Goldstein or Goldstein.
That is Sir William Robert to you.
Yeah, exactly. Or if Germans would say Goldstein. And we have Polk or Poke, however you want to pronounce him, voiced by Daniel Ammerman or Ammerman. And that's about it. Yep. I hope I did well.
I think you did a great job. Great. Way better than what I would have done. I would have butchered everybody's names.
Almost as good as I would have done.
Almost. Right. You'll do it next time.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah. That's good. On the press website, there was also a short blurb about which introduced the characters, and it says, alongside Yuffie and Sonon, additional characters were introduced for Final Fantasy VII Remake episode Intermission, including GJ, a Wutaian who acts as the point of contact between the new Wutaian government and Avalanche HQ. Members of Avalanche HQ, Nayo, Billy Bob, and Polk, and Vyzz, the sadistic ruler of Shinra's top-secret underground research center Deepground. This last sentence is a little bit weirdly phrased because this would suggest that Vyzz is also part of Avalanche HQ, but
yes, I agree. When I first read it, I was like,
yeah,
wait, what?
I had to read it like 3 times until I got it.
Yeah, I was like, what? Since when? Anyway,
yeah.
That's the twist. That's just gave it away.
Yeah, that's the twist. He's Avalanche. All right, so in general, I'm really stoked for the new voices. I always love to hear new voices and unknown voices because then the characters really feel new and fresh. Otherwise, oh, it's Johnny Depp again. Oh, it's this character again. Oh, it's
Sean Bean.
Yeah, Sean Bean. Oh, it's Matt Mercer again, or it's Troy Baker again, or it's just all those who appear in every second game. Yeah.
I remember when Sean Bean was announced as that character from 15, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's gonna die."
Yeah, he's gonna die.
Well, and the Japanese VA for Sonon is the absolute Japanese Sean Bean. He has never played a character that has survived.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Never in his and he's got hundreds of roles. So either Sonon dies, or that guy just changed the projection of his career forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that like previously.
Yeah, we did.
Because I was like, well, why are people thinking that he's gonna die? Like, so we did talk a little bit about that, but that does make sense. I hope that he doesn't fall to that, that curse, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Watch him being within the chopper that gets shot down by Rufus.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there was a little theory that a commenter on my channel on one of the videos posted was hilarious.
I am curious to see if they address that helicopter. Because the person you can see the person in the helicopter, and it's somebody just in that old garb that you see in Chapter 4. He had that same Avalanche armor, so yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
definitely. They'll do everything they can to like make it seem like he's on that, like in Rise of the Skywalker, and then they'll pull a Chewie, and then he just shows up later, like, what? I guess he wasn't on. I guess he wasn't on that helicopter. Oh, okay. And then you just roll with it.
Yeah. Just believe it.
Well, I'm really excited about these voice actors. And from what we've heard so far, I think that they did a really good job just from watching the trailers that we've gotten and seeing their performances. It seems like they fit in well with the rest of Remake's voice cast as well. And did you guys watch the GOODLUCK 7 Remake anniversary stream with all the VAs? It was so awesome.
I did eventually, yeah.
yeah. We tried to watch it together, but that didn't work. But I think I watched it after the fact. It was really fun.
It was awesome.
Definitely, yeah.
They like swapped roles or chose like for the roles that they played, they chose somebody else to play them on the cast, which was they did a great job. Like,
they did.
Yeah, really, yeah.
I was impressed, and they really showed their talent and their range as voice actors, and maybe we'll get something equivalent to that like a year after Intergrade, with the Intermission voice cast. That would be so cool.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Yeah. All right, Alex, if you're listening, let's go.
Yeah.
Alex is the organizer for KupoCon. So
Alex Main, super dedicated member of the community. And I had just watched all of High Rise Invasion, which is anime that the main character, the protagonist Yuri, is voiced by Suzy Young.
Oh,
and
cool.
I had watched that the day before the announcement, and she nailed it. Like I was really excited once I made that connected. So I think she's gonna do great as Yuffie. She's dead on.
I think so too.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the Damon Mills, the voice actor for Vyzz, is such a fan Final Fantasy. Like he's
that's
cosplayed as so many Final Fantasy VII characters. So I really like when they give out roles to like big fans. And there's a couple of big fans, I think, in the voice cast. And I'm still holding out hope that Robert Pattinson, the biggest Final Fantasy VII fanboy of them all, gets cast as Vincent Valentine. But
wow,
if that happens, once again, trademark Schrodinger's Babyseal.
Yes. As long as Vincent doesn't start sparkling, then I'm good.
Oh, come on.
Well, maybe he really does. Like
That's
his coat
so
is a little bit
crazy.
sparkly and
Wow.
That's what the Chaos Gene does, bro.
True. That's true.
Yeah,
You just converted me to a sparkler.
Well, he's got experience, acting as a vampire, so he might be able to bring that element to the character.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
He might be too busy though because he's Batman, so he might be
he is Batman. Yeah, he is Batman. And he has been a lot more choosy with his roles recently. And he's actually become a very good actor, which I don't think anybody of us who watched Twilight ever would have predicted. But he's become a very good actor.
Yeah, I watched him in some other flick. What was it called again? So, he was some very very rich mogul, something like that. It's more like an art house movie, and a lot of times they are sitting in the car and talk, and one time the plebs just bang on the car because they don't like him and such. And he really does a really good job of this composed character that sometimes can get very unhinged when stuff doesn't get his way.
That's pretty Vincent to me right there. I can see him going. Yeah, and he was great in The Lighthouse, which isn't for everybody, but it was definitely for me.
This rings a bell, The Lighthouse.
Yeah, Lighthouse is again, not for everybody, but definitely for me.
I'm all up for obscure and release like those special and not mainstream movies that really try to convey something, to tell a story that's not just your average popcorn flick. You have to really think about it and maybe have to watch 2 or 3 times or something.
Yeah, Lighthouse is definitely one of those, and as a mythology buff,
nice.
It's rife with mythology references. It was definitely not a mainstream film, but it did. It's definitely an art house film, so it's kind of got this following as being a piece of high art. And and he's the Batman, so he's a little outside of the kind of price range of
for sure.
of Remake. Pretty much everybody on Remake is like high grade CW stars or better. And that's not even a dig, because they all killed it. Like everybody's really,
they did.
I'm just really good at I'm really digging the VA casting choices and all that.
Me too.
So yeah.
Also, they seem to really try to give a voice to not lesser known characters, because all of those I haven't heard before the announcement, but then dug a little bit into it. But that's what I meant before. If I don't know a character and hear the voice, then I can identify with the character, or the character has a more of an identity, and not just, that's the 50th character this other voice actor has played. It sounds really great. It's good, but I can mostly still hear the voice actor, and then I don't connect as much as I should to the character at times. I had the same problem in Horizon Zero Dawn. Ashley, what's her last name again? Ashley Birch, exactly. It's the VA for Aloy, and she does a really, really good job, I think. However, I know her from Life is Strange, so I always heard Chloe from Life is Strange during the first few hours, and it was sometimes really pulling me out of the experience. It's not her fault, definitely not, and also not the fault of the developers. It's just me. I sometimes have the connection to the first character, and then if I hear this character again, it loses a little bit of this novelty, kind of.
And I had the reverse experience with Aloy for some reason, because Ashley Birch she's in Final Space, which is a great show.
Yep.
And also she has a live action role in Mythic Quest, which also if you like video games, it's a great like look at the industry from inside the industry. And she's a character in that, and one of the central characters. And so like I'm looking at this person that sounds like Aloy but does not look like Aloy, and it's freaking me out the whole time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't understand. My brain cannot work this out, you know.
I don't remember if I ever heard a voice in a game first and then saw the same VA in a live action movie or documentary. I don't remember seeing that, so I don't know if I would react.
The other experience I had with this was with Sephiroth's VA from Advent Children and everything prior to I saw him in an episode of Law and Order as like the elderly love interest of an elderly character. And it was like, this is wrong. I can't. I can't handle this. Please stop. Take this off the screen. Yeah.
Please leave my Sephiroth alone, please.
That happens to me a lot when I'm watching. Like I watch like Bob's Burgers and like Family Guy and all that. So you see like some of these voice actors, but they're also real like live action actors as well. So I'll see them like, and they're comedians, a lot of them. So you'll see them like in other TV shows or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, I just can't, like I'm hearing it and I'm hearing Bob's Burgers, you know, like and I'm like, no, I can't separate the two. Yeah.
Oh, I just remembered something else. Do you remember the slogan of EA? EA Sports, it's in a game. This is the same. It's David Hayter. It's the Metal Gear Solid guy, the Solid Snake VA. So
you're really dating us here. You're really dating us.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're old. Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear Snake say the EA slogan. But yeah, it's also fun at times, so I'm not complaining in general. It's just a nice touch if I hear a voice for the first time for a new character, and then it's just something new.
All right, guys, so we are moving on here. We are going to be talking about the Famitsu and also the official Square Enix article, Character Reveal. So also just shout out to Audrey for translating the Famitsu article, and Vyzz as well, right? Because you had said that you had also translated one of those articles as well. So we're just going to go down the list of, I guess, new characters and also legacy characters. The compilation characters so far that we got is Vyzz. So I'm just going to quickly read off the description here, the translation. So I guess there's a quote, and it says, "Let us raise the curtains in the beginning of what is called the end." So a ruler donned in all white who controls Shinra's top secret underground research center, Deep Ground. He hones superhuman strength, is very charismatic, sadistic, and cruel. So due to his unparalleled strength, he is restrained to a throne hidden deep beneath Midgar and is only released when he is being experimented on. As he is kept under inhumane conditions, he quietly waits for a chance to exact his revenge. So the English article actually had like a little bit different. So it said, this fearsome figure is Vyzz, also known as Vyzz the Immaculate. So he is the sadistic ruler of Shinra's underground research center, Deep Ground. The company's scientists are so scared of his strength that they've restrained him to a throne deep within the confines of the facility. Though contained, Vyzz is patient and waits for an opportunity to take his revenge. So have we seen any other compilation characters so far? I don't think so. I think this is, like, other than the Deep Ground soldiers, I think that we caught a glimpse of in one of the trailers. I think this is the first for Intermission, right? I think so.
So we have seen compilation enemies, but not compilation characters. We have a reference to console, but that's about it.
Well, I mean, technically, Leslie Curie and Murray.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
oh, yeah,
right,
that's
true,
compilation.
Fair.
Technically.
That's true.
But in Intermission, this is the only compilation character that we have a reference to, for sure. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so a lot of people, I think, are thinking that, you know, anything's on the table now, you know, because they're showing Vyzz like now and giving it to us in this way, in this DLC. And I read somewhere that some people were actually disappointed that they didn't get to fight against Vyzz with Cloud. And apparently now Nomura wants you to experience fighting him as Cloud. And this is kind of like this way of incorporating that battle into like part 2 or whatever. It's gonna, like, the chances of it happening are higher now because they're showing him in Intermission. And then for the story, for me, I just said maybe Vyzz, you had stated later, you're going to talk about this in a bit here, just that he's like he's not necessarily the last boss, but do you think maybe we might like try to fight him and then we fail? It's like one of those you're doomed to fail, you know what I mean, for the story, for the plot, and then you escape or something like that.
My guess is that he's really just a puppet master in this story here with Yuffie, because it suits him much better. Even in Dirge of Cerberus, he is only thrown into the action, so to speak, at the very end against Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
But before, he was just the puppet master, and I'm pretty sure he will remain like this. Besides, of course, his appearance in the VR machine to battle Cloud or something. Yeah, I just can't see him actually becoming a physical threat in this DLC here.
I'm in the same boat. I do not think that. I think we may physically encounter him, like
sure,
sleeping on his throne, as Yuffie and so on. But and I think we'll see other Sviets, but no, I think he is going to be a VR battle for Cloud. And that's really it. Based on the first interview with Nomura, where Nomura essentially says that that Vyzz is not the enemy of is not the final boss of Yuffie's Intermission. It wasn't called Intermission at this point. This was the very first Nomura interview, so that hadn't been revealed yet. But that he had always wanted Cloud to have the opportunity to fight Vyzz, you know. And then in that same sentence, he does actually classify Sephiroth as Vyzz's superior, which actually does settle in the community an age-old debate, believe it or not.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I remember talking about this on a previous episode as well, because we went through that article, and I just wasn't sure, because I think that there was some confusion as well. Like some people, and I was checking out Twitter a lot, and people were like, you know, giving their opinions and talking about this. And one of the things that came up as well was that now, you know, we're probably going to get Genesis because of the secret ending of Dirge of Cerberus. Obviously, I guess, like, spoilers for Dirge of Cerberus if you haven't played it. That he's dead, and then Genesis takes his body. So people are like on Twitter like, oh my god, we're definitely gonna get Genesis. And everybody was kind of freaking out, and it's kind of like combination of people, because some people don't really like the compilation games at all, so they don't really want any of that interfering with 7, and it's kind of this old age debate.
It's understandable as well, but yeah, I think they can sort of work around this controversy by providing more references, or just not shoehorning in those characters in scenes and parts and sections they don't belong. But here we're in deep ground, and it's a DLC. It's not the main storyline. So I think it's practically fair game to do whatever that makes sense and doesn't interfere with the rest of the story, or at least not too much. So this is why I can see Genesis being a thing, although not necessarily in person, because by this time he is just sleeping in the cavern below Midgar,
right?
Where he in the end, in the secret FMV, appears to take away Vyzz.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll actually encounter him unless they try to change the canon again, and then the whispers appear and stuff.
Yeah.
So I can see them just referencing him in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting a reference too. I'm expecting something that's more meta, you know, something of the like. So,
for sure, yeah. Maybe just as little as a name drop, or maybe even as far as chapter 13, where we see all those unknown entities in the failed experiment with a heavy reference to Genesis mutations and experiments. So just something like that, maybe a little bit more. But Genesis himself materializing or something, I can't see that. Maybe VR, but VR is just VR. That doesn't really matter in the long run.
All right, so moving on here, we're going to talk about the new characters that were revealed. So we have Chiche.
Chiche,
is that correct? Yeah. So here's what he says. There's a quote. He says, "You refers to you guys. It's a secret word." So a Wutaian who lives in Midgar, he acts as the liaison between the Wutai government and the main Avalanche branch. With his street smarts and fast moves, he is able to survive by sliding out of trouble. He shows Yuffie around the Sector 7 slums. And then here's what's from the English article. It says Yuffie is also aided by the main branch of Avalanche, a group of planetologists who stand against Shinra. So unlike Barrett's reactor-destroying Splinter Cell, which the main story of Final Fantasy VII Remake follows, Avalanche HQ opposes Shinra through more subtle means and is willing to aid Wutai's operatives on their mission. The point of contact between Wutai and Avalanche is Ziche. So he's a Wutai native himself, and his silver tongue and quick-wittedness have done him well in the undercity of Midgar. He guides Yuffie on her arrival to the city. And I looked up what silver tongue meant, and it means like sweet talker.
Yeah,
like you're able to kind of manipulate people with your words. Because I was like, that's a saying. It might be known, but I don't use it. So I was like, I just want to make sure that I understand. So that does make sense that he's kind of like a sweet talker, you know, like he's able to manipulate people with his words when he's talking. So that's super interesting.
Yeah, so he can just talk himself out of situations.
Yeah, exactly.
Like shouting Moogle and then running away. Best example.
Potentially, yeah. I said he seems like a cool character. I like that he's Wutaian, and I like that he's like stationed in Midgar, and he's there, and he's trying to help Yuffie. I think that's super interesting, and I hope that we get more of a story there with him as a character, a little bit more background. But who knows? We don't know what we're going to get until we actually end up playing it. So, but I like his character design. I think it's cool.
That's not too bad, yeah.
He doesn't look like somebody that you would think would how they would look if they're from Wutai. I don't know. Somebody was also saying this online that they were thinking that, yes, he's from there, but not like native to there, something like that. I don't know.
Could be,
Anyways, he's got like bleached hair, so maybe he dyed his hair or something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's not his original or usual hair color. Just like Reno, who also dyes his hair, and Johnny.
Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny's fun. So yeah,
Johnny's not natural. What are you talking about?
Well, maybe he is, but I think the Material Ultimania says that he dyes his hair, but I'm not quite sure.
Lies.
What
does that book know?
Nothing. It's just headcanon from the developers. It's nothing.
It's hair canon to be
hair canon. Yeah, true.
He's an interesting character, GJ, and I'm not totally sure I trust him.
Oh, okay.
That's an interesting take. Could be, yeah. His silver tongueness.
Just saying.
Yeah, maybe he is a Shinra spy.
Something
could be.
Something's off about him. I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm just again, trademark.
Yeah. Well, I would bow before you if you could put the finger on a digital character, like the zeros and ones within on the hard drive. But yeah, I'm with you. It's possible that there's something more to it. But it's for you, it's just a feeling. For me, it's an interesting thought. I'll keep it in mind because for now there's no real
data. There's no evidence. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to keep in mind.
There's just a lot of oddness with Wutai and Avalanche and their connection.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how Kyrie is going to be involved because
same.
Because Kyrie reports that in chapter 14. She's like, "Oh, they've been working together," which makes me think maybe she's going to show up in the DLC and like overhear the conversation between the two or something like that. Or maybe there's some other weird stuff going on. We'll see.
That would be cool.
That's a good point. Yeah, Kyrie would fit really well into this DLC story. And just some quick remark about his quote here. You refers to you guys like a secret word. It's like a code name. So he likes code names, it seems, or code names are important in here. And yeah, we'll get to code names in a bit with the other characters. So yeah, that's also interesting. He's not born and raised in the slums. He probably has been living there for a little bit, mostly for his liaison part between Wutai and Avalanche. The others are native to Midgar, and Barrett also only mentions 3 Avalanche members and not a 4th. So it makes sense that he's not really part of Avalanche, more like the in-between man, the middleman. So yeah, but more on this Barrett stuff and the other 3 when we get to them.
Yeah, when we get to them.
Yeah.
I know the them that we're talking about.
Yes.
These rascals.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on here, our next character is Neo. That's what I call her, Neo. This team up will be the bridge to the future. I just know it. So that's a quote that she says. A member of the main Avalanche branch, she was born in the slums, hidden within the Sector 7 slums. She oversees the actions of the branch. She receives the requests from the Wutai government for assistance and helps them devise a strategy. She prepares a fake ID that Yuffie and others need to access the upper plate. All right. So it says that here in the English article, it says that she was born and raised in Midgar. She's a member of Avalanche HQ, which we know, and she keeps a close eye on what Barrett's Splinter Cell is up to. So I think I like her character design. Some people online were like, oh, she's just like a copy and paste of Tifa's character model. They just like chopped her hair off. Which, hey, they probably did. Like, who knows, right? But I mean, you know what? Whatever. I like her outfit. I think that, I like the fact that she kind of looks like more uniformy than, like the other characters. But I like that because it kind of gives it like, okay, she's part of a different sect of Avalanche, and she has like the shirt on. I think it does say Avalanche on it, right? On the button up.
It says ASO, which most likely stands for Avalanche Supply Officer.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that. Her skirt is kind of similar to like what Tifa's wearing. It's just different color, and she's wearing like high socks or whatever. I think that she seems super cool as a character, and I feel like her role is going to be more like the tech person, like you said, like making the fake IDs. I don't know what else she'll be up to. Like, if we need doors open, maybe she's like, controlling a computer or something. I don't know.
Like Jessie.
Anyways. Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's definitely going to be the one that pulls the gloves off of Jesse's corpse.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think
interesting.
Absolutely. And the one
she should.
Maybe Billy Bob and Polk help carry Biggs to the orphanage. That's my guess.
Oh,
it's very much possible because they know what's up.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Rumor has it that the plate's gonna drop.
That's what the rumors say.
Yeah.
Really?
That's the rumor from the Wutai spy.
Yeah,
GJ.
that's what GJ says in the trailer. But only the Japanese version. In the English version, we don't hear really about the details there.
Yeah.
It just says you should go elsewhere or leave this place because rumor has it that something's going down or something. But in in the Japanese version, they actually mention, I don't remember the exact quote, but something about plates gonna fall or something. Yeah, it's interesting.
Imagine, that'll be crazy. I'm excited.
So do you want to just come out and say what you think, who you think this character is? Vyzz?
Yes. Just think, Avalanche Supply Officer. Barrett talks about Nellie being the quartermaster, and she's close to Jessie. They don't look alike, but people still mistake them as sisters.
Oh.
And Nayo is taking care of fake IDs, and Jessie also deals with IDs, but she never says she crafted the IDs. She only says that she has them or got the IDs or something like that. So she could have gotten them from her best friend Nellie, aka Nayo, the code name.
Ooh. Wow.
Yep. So, and just something about this quote as well. I really like this quote. This team up will be the bridge to the future. I just know it, which makes sense in terms of Avalanche and Wutai's cooperation against Shinra. So this, what they're up to, their team up, will be the bridge between Avalanche and Wutai to the future of defeating Shinra. Something along those lines. And it's also really meta because this team up, which means intermission, is a bridge to the future. It's a bridge between part 1 and part 2 of the remake. Literally. So
that makes sense. Wow, if that ends up happening, like that'll blow my mind. I'll just be like, like my mind can't.
I mean, it tracks to me. And also, you know, in chapter 1, Jessie makes reference to a friend.
Right, correct.
You know, that has access to codes, and I just wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the connection. And we know that they're in hiding also.
Yeah.
Because they are all of them in the Japanese version of the press release. It uses almost the same exact language for they are hiding in the Sector 7 slums right now. And
yeah,
it's
exactly.
probably because of probably because of the Reactor 5 bombing.
Yeah. Reactor number 1 and 5 both.
Yeah. And so them using a code name isn't super far off. I wouldn't be surprised if you know this ends up being the same 3 characters. And we'll go over the rest of the characters when we get there. But
yes, that's a good point.
The Bridge to the Future line is really interesting. It threw me off, and I spun out on it for several hours, as I'm prone to do when they drop cryptic stuff that involves destiny, etc. And so
you're spiraling.
Yeah, I'm going down the meta spiral. I can feel the voices in my head of you know all my.
That happened to be after the ending of the first remake. I was just fell into like a YouTube hole, and I was just like spiraling out of control.
Somebody give me certainty, please.
Somebody save me.
Sleep easy.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, so moving on to our next character, Billy Bob.
Yep.
All right, so we got Billy Bob. He says Midgar has Shinra victims too. Don't forget that. So a member of the main Avalanche branch, he was born in the slums. Although he is extremely experienced compared to the other members who are hidden away in the Sector 7 slums, he doesn't put his experience to work and instead has a very laid-back personality. He's very good with alcohol and can drink as much as he wants without getting drunk. Okay. He apparently collects his intel from people at bars. So, super interesting. The English article says, by far Avalanche's most experienced member, though you wouldn't know it from his laid-back attitude. You'll often find him knocking back a few at the local bars, all while secretly gathering intelligence for the organization. So, do you want to go first, Vyzz?
Yeah. You already said it, all while secretly gathering intelligence for the organization. What does Barrett say about Al? The intel guy. And he also gets around with girls. Always has a flower bouquet with him to seduce him. Also tried this with Tifa, but then got beaten into a pulp. At least that's what the Japanese version says. So he likes Tifa, goes to bars to gather information. Seventh Heaven, anyone?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So yeah, Billy Bob, which he's experienced member, but you wouldn't know. So he basically puts on a facade of someone who's not really worth looking at or getting suspicious from or of. So Billy Bob is just another name there, nothing to see here. Moving on. What is actually Al, the Intel guy? Yep. And you mentioned Jessie Babyseal before in chapter 1, and she also says that they got the code from someone she knows, but because no one else at command would talk to them. So it's probably the liaison for Jessie is most likely Nelly because they're so close. But Nelly, of course, can just get the code from Billy Bob or Al.
From Al, yeah. Ali Bob.
Ali Bob.
Yeah, and I also like that he has his little indicator, his badge, hidden on his belt. I think that's a fun detail about the character that makes him sort of fit as a intel guy, somebody kind of secret. He also bears a passing resemblance to Shears from Before Crisis.
Oh right, you have some.
Not enough to like pin him down. He also looks like Axel from not Axel.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, from Kingdom Hearts. But and you know like I'm missing the organization member that he looks like, but it's not Axel. My bad. It's he's also got
Vexen.
It's Vexen, yeah. He's got the wrong color hair to be Shears, but he's got the same bandana.
Yeah.
He's got the same side profile. I mean, he looks like he could be an older, dyed-haired Shears. Which if that ended up happening, that would
also blow my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Sleep Easy I think he would literally die. He is so desperate to have Before Crisis be like majorly featured here.
Yeah, me too. To some extent,
I am too. I think it might be the best part of the compilation, and I'm really excited that they're going to get to revisit that.
I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely. And you know the other thing about the guy that I find interesting is him being the sort of voice of Shinra being Shinra having its own victims in this too. I think that points to maybe his maybe because he's older and he's seen how there's experience makes you see that there's always casualties on all sides. Everybody's just doing what they think is right. But it connects to Tifa because Tifa is generally that voice in Remake. And if they have had some heart-to-hearts, that involve, flower shenanigans that didn't go well, if he is in fact Al, maybe that rubbed off on her a little bit. And with her, it's like even more of a dramatic. I mean, we don't know Al's backstory, but it's very dramatic considering what happened to Tifa. Tifa lost a lot too.
Practically everything to Shinra.
Yeah, absolutely. So but I think it's interesting that he might be a way for that theme to carry into Intermission.
Yeah,
because I think that is an important theme that needs to be part of the overall narrative throughout all this. And it gave me hope that Intermission isn't just going to be like, oh, we get to play Tifa and then learn which stamp is going to be the real one moving forward. It's also it's also part of Final Fantasy VII. And it pushes forward the narrative. So I was excited to see that line in particular, almost more than any of the other lines, strangely.
Yeah, that's true. And it also really fits well to a line that's also in the I think it's in the Japanese only, because in the English version of the avalanche's description, it's not that apparent, but in the Japanese it says, unlike Barrett's branch, who chose the radical means of blowing up reactors, Avalanche wants to liberate Midgar from the Shinra Company while protecting the lives of its citizens. And I'm pretty sure that Billy Bob or Al is one of the bigger voices who wants it to be this way. They just want to liberate the people from Shinra's grasp, from the company itself, but all the people that are working for Shinra and don't really contribute to the evilness or unknowingly contribute, they should also be saved. Like the Shinra middle manager, for example, and all those poor people working overtime because of the platefall.
Yeah, I hope the connection is there, because they did take time to kind of show us the inside, you know, and the look at like a glimpse into the Shinra employees' lives just through those NPCs, and just kind of, you know what I mean? Which was super interesting to me, and it kind of gave it a different layer, you know, because it's true. And in the original, you don't necessarily feel bad for, you're just like, Shinra's bad, like, doesn't matter. Like, think about all these people that died. I felt bad about it. I felt guilty about it when I was playing it, but a lot of people didn't. They just were like, oh, well, you know what I mean? And then on to the next thing.
There is a tiny little bit of that in the original as well. Like, we scare the lady at the reception desk a little bit. Then there's other scared person. I'm not sure if it's a woman or a man in the elevator when you take the hard route, or the loud route, so to speak. There's also someone getting into the elevator and is scared, and then runs out when the door opens next time. And something similar happens in the remake, but of course much bigger. There's this normal guy, middle age, maybe in his 40s or something, just gets into the elevator, talks on his phone with his mom. Yeah, mom, everything is all right and stuff, and then gets out again, and it really hits hard for the other characters, especially Tifa. And the other accountant lady who Cloud scares to death with his tip of the sword in front of her nose. Yeah, it's funny, but it's also kind of, okay, are we the bad guys here?
Yeah, absolutely.
But they did take some time here to talk about like his drinking, so I feel like that's going to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I'm like, his inability to get drunk is suspect.
This is the suspect one.
Yeah, that was suspect to me as well. Yeah.
How's he doing that? Is he a reunion clone? Is the Genova cells prevent him from getting drunk? Okay. I'm not being serious.
Or maybe he just pretends to drink alcohol and doesn't, and the other ones do, and that's how he gets the intel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's gaslighting him.
Yeah, exactly.
But it could be like he just drinks. He has drank like his whole life, so he just has worked up a resistance to it.
Or that,
I don't know, because isn't he supposed to be more experienced and older, you know? So
older, hopefully, because experience mostly also means older a little bit, but he doesn't look that old. Maybe
I don't think he looks that old, but maybe if you zoom in.
I did, and it still doesn't look old.
He looks 40 in Square Enix.
What? True, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like the same age as Scarlet.
Or Sid. Sid is 32.
Yeah.
Sid in Advent Children looks pretty young, actually. Yeah.
Well, I mean, these are characters that are older than me IRL, or that are younger than me IRL. So I would hope that, you know.
Yeah, true.
They look like children, okay?
Yeah, same.
All right, guys?
Even I surpassed Barrett by this point, so.
Oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just feel like it's super interesting that he's talking about gathering intel at the bar. You know, people are drinking, and people speak more freely as well, because once they, you know, start drinking alcohol, you kind of like let your guard down, you know, and you're talking about these things that you normally wouldn't necessarily talk about when you're under the influence, or you just kind of, you know, you're drinking, having a casual drink here and there. And I think that he's, you know, eavesdropping on these people, and hopefully we get a scene, you know, where he's gathering this intel and then reporting back to the group. That would be awesome. Or obviously we wouldn't get a scene in this, probably, that him showing up at Seventh Heaven, but sounds like there's a connection there potentially. And like Babyseal, you said between him and Tifa, that would be super cool actually. When I'm thinking about it, that there's a connection there potentially. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. And yeah, so our next character is Poke, I guess. Here's what he says. So you're bored? How about playing Fort Condor? So a member of the main Avalanche branch, he was born into the slums. He's the youngest member of the Sector 7 Avalanche branch in hiding. Everyone treats him like a younger brother, and even though they make fun of him, he's adored by them. In regards to devising strategies, he's super into the popular strategy game called Fort Condor. So the English press site article says he's the Avalanche's youngest member. Poke is sort of the younger brother of the team, so he's loved and teased accordingly. He's passionate about Fort Condor, which is, it says explicitly here that it's a board game that has taken the Undercity by storm. So it says here that it is a board game, because I think some people on Twitter, I think when this was announced, were thinking it was like a video game in the game, and that this was kind of the people, you know how people get like online, right? So people were basically saying that this is like Fort Condor has been taken out of the other parts, and now it's just going to be a game, like a mini game or a game within the game, and it's just the story has changed completely from, you know, the original, and it's just goes to show that they're feeling us and blah blah. No, that's not anywhere. It's just literally like a sentence, and it, I think it's super cool, you know, that potentially if it is a mini game, that would be super cool. I'm interested to see, you know, what we get, if it is a mini game or not.
Maybe it's a mini game that's being poured out of the game and into the real world, like a game for the how do you say it, mobile game, just for fun. Don't you guys have phones? No, I was just kidding, but yeah.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
Now yeah, that's a whole other thing with this Fort Condor, that there are so many possibilities. Either it's just a cool reference and we don't see it; it's just name dropped, or it's actually there, like visible, but we can't play it. Or it's actually a new minigame, maybe in the DLC in Part 2 in Gold Saucer, where have you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or what's also possible, other people have said that it might be a piece of propaganda for Shinra, like pro Shinra stuff with the Fort Condor battle and stuff. But I have a different idea. A board game that has taken the Undercity by storm. Not Midgard itself, just the Undercity. What if this is made by Avalanche to make awareness for Shinra's shenanigans at Fort Condor?
Yeah.
Like the other way around. That's why Poke is also so enamored with this board game. If it's Shinra propaganda, he probably wouldn't be.
I fully agree, and I think that that it may have even been a you know, like a tower defense game that was put forward by Shinra, but you know, sort of reworked you know, by the Undercity,
or
like
that,
something about it that made you know, the underdog be able to survive or win. Regarding whether or not this, you know, the impact this has on the story, couple things. It is one, it like Kurosa said, it's just a sentence. Like, let's relax. Relax, internet, collectively. But okay, so let's run this all the way to its. Let's run a reductio ad absurdum on this. Let's say that it does mean that the tower defense portion of the game is now just this board game that can be played in Midgar, and maybe if the, let's say it shows up in the DLC in Intermission and it's really, really fun and successful, like it's a part people like, it'll probably make its way into Part 2. There's no reason for it not to.
For sure.
So, you know, let's not freak out about that. It doesn't mean that the location is gone. You know, and Fort Condor still, I mean, there's you know, it's got all this phoenix symbolism. It's got the huge materia involved.
Exactly.
So, you know, if they took it out as a location, they would have to relocate that. And it didn't have much to it outside of the tower defense game, so they could just make it a location you can go to, talk to an old guy, and then, you know, get the huge materia from it. It's not a high overhead thing for them to do. That being said, it is one of the, I did find it interesting. It is one of the few locations that's not referenced as a location outside of Midgar in the world preview book.
Oh, okay.
They came out with the release, whereas most other locations that we, you know, are definitely for sure looking forward to are. And so, you know, I can see it either being, you know, kind of reduced in its geographic importance, and then we kind of do the tower defense stuff in you know, the DLC or in minigame type thing, and then just it's sort of this looming giant condor in the distance. Or if it's scrapped completely, I mean, of all the places to scrap, I just don't know if that would be a deal breaker for me. You know, and I just, you know, if they're gonna scrap some locations, let's face it, that's pretty high on the list of inconsequentials. Like, if you need to hit some kind of story quota, as long as you can find a way to get that huge materia, you're really you're not like demolishing the story with making that, you know, go away. Yeah, and there are more things to say about Polk, and so I'll let other people say that, and then I'll talk about that. But as far as Fort Condor goes, I think, one, it's probably still there. Two, if it is there and it's a reduced deal, nothing of value lost. Three, if it's just gone, we'll survive.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there, but I also have an idea that this Fort Condor scenario might have been expanded upon, or will be expanded upon, like really reworked into the main story, and also with Avalanche, Wutai, and Yuffie, for that matter.
Yeah.
And the mini game might not be there anymore, like it was in the original, but like we have to repel Shinra troops in a different way, kind of like
it might be real.
Yeah, like we're actually there running around the battlefield and then engaging in certain battles. And
it's like Dynasty Warriors, like
kind
of
a
different mini game when you're there. Yeah.
It's more like you actually use the battle system and normal exploration field system.
That would be awesome.
And I think there was something similar in Final Fantasy VI, I believe, where you had to, like, all those different paths, you had to avoid the other Magitech troopers, and you could battle them, but you could also avoid them. Something like that, but remade, of course. And then this old minigame is just reworked, now fully working at a little bit faster paced minigame that is still fun, but doesn't detract from the actual story, and the story can be expanded upon, and it could be a whole chapter just for Fort Condor if they want to. So I hope it goes into this direction.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. It could be like it's a board game which ends up being a mini game, like a mini strategy game for everybody, and then it's like getting you ready so that they know what to do when they get to Fort Condor, like, and it actually happens in real life, like it actually happens. Does that make sense?
That would be way cool. Yeah. I would be really there for that. But I'm also not getting my hopes like skyrocketing.
Yeah, for sure. I can hope, but still my expectations are low, that it means it's there. We can go there to just chat a little bit, learn about Shinra stuff, and it's just happening in the background. We don't really see it or experience it. Maybe get some new materia, can buy some stuff, some new armlets, and then on to Junon. That's the lowest bar for me. The lowest.
Getting Yuffie.
Yeah, on to getting Yuffie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Chase her down in the woods.
And that's why people, I think, were saying, like, this is what this DLC is kind of replacing the Fort Condor mission, I feel, because like she's there to get the ultimate materia, which ends up, it's just the huge materia that we're supposed to be getting at like Fort Condor, and now Fort Condor is a minigame. So that doesn't even happen anymore because it's basically been replaced with this DLC mission. And then it makes more sense when we actually meet Yuffie, like, and get her as a party member in part 2 or whatever. And then we don't have to go there to do the minigame, right? Because you could skip it, actually. You don't need to go there in the beginning. You go back later when the story asks you to go back to get the huge materia, but now that wouldn't even happen. So that's a potential as well, but
I can see the train of thought, but I don't really see it happening because it's just not too much linked to each other besides the huge materia. Huge materia quest still happens. So why not get the huge materia that's there? And the huge materia quest can kind of be foreshadowed here in this DLC. I think that would
imagine it's kind of like a imagine it's like a what is it called, like a crossover event between like this game and the First Soldier or something, like I don't know. So like the events that happen in that, I don't know, just thinking like tower defense, and then they're, you know, giving us this mobile game and all this stuff. So anyways,
why not?
I would put solid money on crossover stuff happening. I'd like for sure. And between the mobile games and the main series games, and maybe even the mobile games and non-main series titles, like non-Final Fantasy titles, because I mean, remember 15 had a Assassin's Creed crossover event, you know?
FF14 as well.
That was so weird. And then 14, you can fight near bosses in 14 right now, you know. Like it's a free for all. But I would not be surprised if we see something in even weirder than you think Square IPs that are doing better. I'm not saying that we're gonna see, you know, like Genesis and Fall on Wonderworld or Wonderland or whatever it is. Although that'd be great. But maybe Outriders or something will have some Final Fantasy stuff in it.
Some soldier skins or whatever.
Yeah. Genesis coat.
Yeah.
The world is called Enoch. You know, that they're on, and Enoch is basically the Götterdämmerung of Genesis. Like if you were to look at them, you know, it's essentially a retelling of the biblical creation myth. It's like Götterdämmerung is to you know, the Poetic Edda what Enoch or one Enoch is to the Book of Genesis. So if there were ever to be like a remake version of Genesis that was in some parallel, you know, kind of timeline, and they named it Enoch, you would know why. He got Götterdämmerunged.
Yeah.
Which is a new verb that I came up right now. I mean, Götterdämmerunged.
I love it.
Yeah.
Say that a couple times fast.
Götterdämmerunged.
Good job.
Thank you. Genesis is sleeping for 3 years below Midgar anyway, so while sleeping it could have visited other worlds, outer worlds.
Exactly. And just through whatever weird numerism they come up with.
Isn't Cloud appearing in Tactics canon? Like while he was in the live stream, he went into Tactics worlds. I think this is actually canon.
It is
as far as I can remember.
Canon in the Ultimania.
Yeah.
The Ultimania explicitly says that it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know,
it doesn't take away, so it's fine.
Canonicity has such a power that I think it can be used in a sort of deceptive way. Just because it was mentioned that Cloud showed up in Final Fantasy Tactics in the Ultimania doesn't mean that it's like anything other than referential. But but Ultimanias do have a tendency to be very careful about what they include. Like you don't see a bunch of references to say Dissidia in
that's true,
in the Ultimanias. So it was an odd thing that they chose to do that. So I think that's why people have put it in their various iceberg theories.
Yeah, probably
the lore.
Yeah.
So who's Polk?
Yeah, who's Polk? Yeah, Polk.
Yeah, I just said that I think that he looks like a cool character. And I do like that they took time to kind of represent this age grouping as well, because we had a lot of little children in the remake, like little kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
yeah. So
some teenagers, I guess. But yeah, in the oh my gosh, where you do the mini games, like the Chocomog and
and Sector
like
5 and
yeah. So I do like this, and I like the fact that they did incorporate that he's kind of like into this game, which is super relevant, and I feel like people will be able to relate to his character a lot. So
totally.
And I like his character design. And you see kind of the resemblance as well with the same colors as Ziche or Jiche.
Yeah.
Kind of looks similar. They have the same color pants, the same color.
Yeah, it's similar.
He's wearing a jacket, but it's like the same color of a shirt, but his shirt's tucked in.
Maybe this is just because he takes DJ as his mentor or idol or something like that. Yeah. Because it's hard to say, maybe he's 16, 18 or something at the most. So maybe he even tries to hit on Yuffie or something. I don't know. Same age group, I guess. So who knows?
Oh my god.
But yeah, since we deemed Nayo Nelly and Billy Bob being Al, the only one left who Barrett mentions is Finn. And Finn is this kid, good for nothing, who doesn't really do what you tell him besides when it comes to drawing. He draws all the stamps, and it's what he loves to do. And this really kind of sounds like similar to Poke, right? He's also a kid. He's not really the guy who, like, the one who chases job after job. And he also says there, you're bored? How about playing Fort Condor? So, I'm bored. I don't want to do this. Let's play Fort Condor. And while he's not drawing, he probably just wants to play Fort Condor, and the rest doesn't really interest him at all, maybe. But he's still loved as a little brother by the others, but also teased. And he's probably also being poked fun at. You see where I'm going with this?
Interesting.
He's being poked fun at. So, who knows? Maybe I'm still wrong, but it's just too much parallels. There are too much parallels, or too many parallels.
I agree. If they end up backpedaling on this, because I mean, for broader context, in Barrett's resolution scene, there's these 3 characters in Avalanche that are not seen in the main game that are described with pretty surprising detail, but they're given 3 names that don't appear in any of the trailers. And when this press release came out and we got these 3 names, while none of them were Nelly, Finn, or Al, instead what we got were descriptions of characters that were so on the money.
Yes.
For these characters that it made it feel like very, very obvious that these are in fact code names. And Finn, being this unruly child that won't do what you tell him, and then this guy being like this obsessed with this game, and it's a board game, and a lot of board games, like, let's say it's something like a Games Workshop game where you paint the pieces, or you there's art that is involved in creating the board game. Maybe that's how he learned to draw, or he draws pieces on here, because he is, of course, the person that provides the stamp graffiti that we see throughout around Midgar. And so it's very on character for him. And then like Vyzz has said, that the other characters, they just have too many similarities. It seems like they're throwing it right in our face that that's who these people are, and then throwing in that this is all they're in hiding, and they might not necessarily dwell in Sector 7. That might not be their main base of operation. Maybe they're Sector 5ites. Who knows? and they're just here for this period, it could be very well to say that, these are code names. It just fits really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really says they hide out in Sector 7, but they are born in the slums. It doesn't say in which sector. So it's really possible, yeah, definitely. Maybe they were growing up in Sector 5 with all the other kids in the orphanage, and then moved over to Sector 7 for L-Lanch stuff, or are relocating all the time. Who knows? It's also possible. And you had a good idea about painting or matching the painting with the board game. I'm not too much into Warhammer 40k, but I also hear that there's a huge figure painting culture there. So,
oh yeah, some people are more into that part of the culture than the actual game.
Yeah, exactly. And Fort Connor being a board game, all those pieces could be like just unicolored, and he paints them beautifully.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's who Games Workshop is. They make Warhammer.
Oh, I see. Okay, right.
Yeah, and so yeah, I think that wouldn't be way off base of an opportunity. There might be a stamp piece,
Yeah, sure.
Man, if stamp and if we get like a little screenshot of what like the Fort Condor game looks like, in a teaser, and we see stamp in there, we'll know. We'll know for sure. Yeah, we'll know. Finn is Polk after all. Watch him be 3 other completely people. They're just the ones in the helicopter that get shot down.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Oh no.
But there is something else. Another detail I mentioned in a previous analysis video, that all those names, Nelly, Finn, and Elle, I think, or is it only Nelly and Finn, appear on the scoreboard of the Dart scoreboard. So they're actively there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't think Elle is there, probably because he doesn't play, maybe. Maybe he just keeps drinking all the time and chatting up the others, and because when he's playing he's probably distracted, but watches the others play, makes bets. Who knows?
That's a good point. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my memory serves me right that Elle is not on there, but Finn and Nelly are.
I think you're right. And I don't know if that's from my own investigation or if I've just adopted your investigation to mine from watching your analysis video. It all blends together at this point. I'm having trouble like appropriately crediting people. Like I've definitely credited the wrong person for things in the last week.
Yeah, this sometimes happens to me as well. Not wrongly crediting, but sometimes just forgetting about something, and then when I remember while editing, I just add the name.
Yeah, I mean, it happened to me recently that I was like, hey, do you remember when you said that thing? And I was talking about a specific detail, like a specific theory point, and Sleepeasy was like, no, I never said that. That was you. Like, I forgot that I said it. I forgot that I came up with it. So
that's funny.
So yeah, this what age you guys get to look forward to this, you youngsters. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
But yeah, this game is coming out in not that, I mean, like the Intergrade's coming out so soon, and it's such a great time to kind of go back and replay this game, because I feel like there's so many things that I missed that now, having talked to you and, Babyseal and other people as well in the community and everything, it's kind of like this, it's going to be a completely different experience. Like, I'm just going to be so attuned to like finding these little Easter eggs and stuff like that, you know what I mean, on a different level than when I played it like normally, because I did play it completely and then I started a hard playthrough and I didn't actually end up finishing it because I sold my PS4 to buy a PS5 and I haven't been able to get one. But
oof.
Yeah,
it sucks. All the best to you.
They did just about Poke again, so they did specifically say that in regards to devising strategies, he's into this board game. So it could be, to me, that, it's like the team are there, they're trying to come up with a strategy, and he might end up, because he has this experience playing this game, that he has like a good strategy, and maybe, he offers it up and they end up taking that and using his strategy for some kind of thing that happens, I guess, in the story, and then it works or something. I don't know.
Oh, maybe he's the one responsible for the plan on the board.
on the board.
It's on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that the party was supposed to take. But ends up being taken by or the one that they were supposed to take, but ends up being like hijacked by Cloud and Co.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
That sounds interesting. I like that actually. It makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
All right, so really quickly here, so Vyzz, there were some differences in the translations between the press article and the Famitsu article. So did you want to go over the differences in the translations, I guess?
For sure, yeah. Audrey also provided the translation from Famitsu, but I also usually like to run the Japanese text through DeepL, which is a machine learning AI translator. It's really good. Most of the time spits out really natural sounding translations. It's pretty good so far. Hasn't failed me really so far. So I'm going off this, but it's basically the same in the content from Audrey's translation and the DeepL translation, so it doesn't really matter which one. But between the official English article on Square Enix's website and the Famitsu article, there were a few, let's say, crucial differences, at least for me. And I'm all for the details. Others would probably say, well, that's not really of much importance. But the first one is that the most powerful materia they plan to steal is said to be developed by Shinra in the Japanese version. So it's not the proto-materia or something else, something natural. It's actually a materia developed by Shinra. And that's also why I came up with the huge materia. And also in comparison or in conjunction with the scene where Scarlet tries to create materia, probably also huge materia or something like that. So I think I don't know why they left out this detail that it's developed by Shinra and not just a powerful materia that Shinra has, which could be anything.
Yeah.
Kind of like this fact about Cloud coming to Sector 7 slums 2 days before, the day before yesterday, as Marl says or asks him. But in the English version of the game, you don't know when Cloud arrived. You only know that the day before yesterday is, yesterday was the bombing run, evening, and the day before yesterday means just a day before Cloud arrived. So it makes sense. It makes much more sense in Japanese. And there is also, throughout the whole game, so many references and nuances are getting lost because of the English translation into English or the English localization, like references to the original game, sometimes even exact dialogue lines, or maybe sometimes even references to some happenings in the compilation lore, what have you, just some tiny little things. And also Jessie being an actress, you don't really know that until the game tells you that she is. But in the Japanese version, in the beginning, in chapter 1, when Jessie falls while they're escaping, I think there's something about she tried to play how to fall. It's like she pretended to fall, and
like she was performing.
Yeah, performing, and Cloud says nice performance or something like that. I don't remember the exact words, but
that's interesting.
Even there, it alludes to her being an actress, and in the English version, it just completely gets lost, and this is a shame. And this apparently also happens to articles here. Now, the next one, I probably should move this one to the end because this will cause some discussion. I already touched on this about more nuance about Avalanche's plans, or not plans, but their philosophy about liberating Midgar, like liberating all of the citizens and protecting them, not just bombing the place to bring them down like Barrett does. And it also says, in order to establish relations with the provisional government of Wutai, they cooperate in the operation to take the ultimate materia. This is, I think, an additional line, which wasn't there in the English one. There's also a name change. It's not that big of a deal, but in English, the Yuffie's ability is called Elemental Ninjutsu, and in Japanese it's Ninjutsu Change. So it
makes sense.
It's the same in general, but it's nuanced a little bit. It's just you change the ninjutsu style, and in English it's just it's elemental ninjutsu. I think I personally prefer the Japanese version here. And also the character quotes we covered before were also missing from the English article, unfortunately. And some bios were a little bit extended. For example, the one from Nayo, where they're talking about her preparing the fake IDs. This line was also completely missing from the English article, which is a shame, actually. Maybe they wanted to hide spoiler that she is Nelly, maybe. And the Japanese don't really care, but the English ones thought, that's too much on the nose. Let's just remove that. Maybe. Yeah. And it's also interesting that Fort Condor is dubbed a board game only in the English version. In Japanese, there's, as far as I can tell, no board game mentioned, just that it's a game, or maybe strategy game, as Audrey put it. But
that's about it's a strategy game.
Yeah. And now, something that's also completely missing from the English version. Well, not completely missing, but it has been completely changed. In English, it says, but unbeknownst to Yuffie, things are about to take a very unexpected turn. Well, this is just a generic, mysterious line. But in Japanese, it says, guided by the cries of the planet, the wheels of a new destiny begin to turn. The world that you see with your eyes, the screams that you hear have not reached your friends. What do you guys think about those lines?
What could we think about that? It's just nonsense. No, no, it's one of those things that got me on the couch spinning in my head in the metaverse for 2 hours,
spiraling out of control.
Like, because it has these callbacks to things that Aerith says when talking about Sephiroth. But it also, like, there's this potential that, this is about. So this line, by the way, is for the Intergrade Famitsu article, right? So
the second line is intermission specific, I think.
Okay, so the second line is intermission specific. So if it's intermission specific, then that means that possibly we're, talking about something with Yuffie and Sonon, maybe, or, like, I've heard people say, does this mean that Yuffie's not going to be in the main game? Like, just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so beautifully vague that it's impossible to kind of nail down something. I do just, the thing that I keep coming back to is that it does seem to, like, serve whatever meta narrative is happening with the live stream, Aerith, Cries of the Planet, and I think it's reframing what's happening in the intermission exposition through the framework of that language. I don't necessarily think that, like, it means too much, but I think that it chose that language specifically because of Whispers, Cries of the Planet.
Probably, yeah.
Aerith being an ability, Aerith saying that Sephiroth, or that darkness in general, like the forces that are antagonizing them, are incapable of hearing the screams of the screams of pain, etc. That's kind of, I don't know how else to interpret it than that, without being way too tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I have some thoughts for you, but first a little bit more context, just to be perfectly clear about everything. The first line, guided by the cries of the stars, blah blah, or the planet. This line has existed in the description of Yuffie's DLC when Intergrade first dropped the first trailer and stuff.
Okay.
And the second line has been added for the intermission announcement, but both are right beside each other and within the main description of Intermission. And here the whole thing says in the Deep L translation of the Japanese version, in the midst of the chaos in Midgar, after the explosion of number 1 reactor, the shinobi under the secret orders of Wutai make their covert move. Yuffie, the girl in the Moogle cloak, and her trusty sidekick Sonon. Their target is the ultimate materia developed by the Shinra Company. With the help of the original Avalanche, they enter the enemy territory to take revenge for their homeland. Then, guided by the cries of the stars or the planet, the wheels of the new destiny begin to turn. The world that you see with your eyes, the screams that you hear have not reached your friends. That's the whole paragraph, like the whole section, which is divided into different sentences. And the second line is it's on a separate line, especially, and the first line is together with another, like what they actually do with the help of the original Avalanche. They enter enemy territory, yada yada yada. So the context is really weird, I'd say. So like the first line refers to Yuffie and the second line is completely different. However, even the first line doesn't make too much sense unless they deem Yuffie a new destiny. But why is it a new destiny? Yuffie existed in the original game as well. And even her adventure here could have happened in the original game. We just don't see it. It doesn't contradict the timeline in any way. So why talking about a new destiny begins to turn? Is she that much important for like changing destiny or helping to change destiny or something? What other character can you remember which can be deemed a new destiny where the wheels start to turn, which could be guided by the planet? Can you think of someone? Hard question, I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Guided by the planet, a new destiny.
I mean, I think I know what you're saying, and I think
I'm wrong.
I think it means that we're gonna get we're gonna have to get real comfortable with everybody's favorite poem about forestalling returns and a moral barren of promises. Well, you know, Genesis is a champion of the planet at this point because Minerva was sort definitely. Minerva made him his champion. So Genesis comes to mind whenever I hear "Guided by the Cries of the Planet," the wheels of a new. So but I figured there's a lot of Genesis to cover in this. So I think I'll if that's what you were going at, I'll reserve Genesis talk for the Genesis segment of this conversation.
Well, before we talked about Genesis, possibly or hopefully or most likely not really being in this DLC.
Right.
And to be perfectly honest, I wasn't thinking about Genesis here.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you know something else? A new destiny that hasn't existed before? Or, well, did, but not really.
Zach?
Yes. Because he's now alive. Yeah. Everyone's bane of existence.
Yeah.
And according to my theories and some other people, the Whispers were responsible for his survival. So if they're responsible, then they're also guiding Zack. Because
yeah.
Just by pure logic. The wheels of a new destiny begin to turn. Yep, it's a new destiny, they begin to turn, and we don't really know where it's going. And then the second line, the world that you see with your eyes, the screams that you hear have not reached your friends. Whose friends? And when talking about Zack, he has friends. He has Aerith, he has Cloud, he has Tifa. Well, Tifa maybe just peripheral, but still. And the world that he sees with his eyes, like after he survives, the world that he sees, this world is new to him. It's also new for everyone else because the Whispers are defeated. Nobody knows where it's going.
That's a good point.
This world has not reached the friends yet because he's still in the past, like 2 months or something. I think September 20th or something was it? I don't quite remember. It was September something.
It would be late September.
Late September, yeah, September 20th, I think. So there's still around 2 or 2.5 months until Final Fantasy VII proper starts.
Right. Which is December 9th.
Exactly. And that means the world that he sees have not reached his friends. This reality is not there yet. There still needs time to be there. And the screams that he hears, like the screams of the planet, where while they scream around Sephiroth shenanigans and then they are defeated, has also not reached his friends yet because they don't know about his existence. It's like this also disconnected now. Maybe Aerith knows a little bit now, but that's debatable in the ending. So
yeah, definitely.
I thought about a lot of things, but this makes for me the most sense without starting piling on assumptions upon assumptions.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have anything else to be able to add because
your brain just broke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like spiraling slowly
to the abyss.
But it does totally make sense what you're saying, and who knows, I feel like it's left open and this is very cryptic so that it could mean anything. And
that's true.
I'm all for that. I'm all for this potentially being Genesis as well. Like I'm open to it.
I can't believe I want this to be Genesis more than Zack. I never thought in a million years.
Yeah, because you want Zack to die.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the right way to say it?
Well, he needs to die for Cloud to be who he is. There's going to be like a paradox.
But from Cloud's perspective, he did die. Like,
yes.
He, so like his development's the same. It's for me, the only way I could see them satisfyingly concluding Zack being alive is that what Zack is doing is he is doing his own thing that, I don't know, undoes or unravels this bizarre meta stuff that's happening. Like he does it alongside it, and he ultimately sacrifices himself to like undo whatever Sephiroth's bizarre whisper stuff is happening. That's the only way that I could see it being super satisfying. But hey, as imaginative as I think I am, you never know what they could do. They could come up with something that surprises me and I like.
That's true.
Yeah. I could also be totally off on this, and it has nothing to do with Zack.
I'm going to be honest, I'd heard Zack stuff about it, and I think my brain is just so biased against it. I was just like, no way. And hearing you go through that was really upsetting. I'm upset because it fits really well, and I'm like, God,
you're mad.
Dang it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vyzz.
Glad to have been of service.
No, I'm really impressed with your ability to break that down. That's why we love you, Vyzz.
Thank you. Now I'm blushing. Good thing is it's an audio only podcast.
Audio only. We don't get to see Rude blushing.
Yep. Exactly.
Rude and double, because I look similar to how Vyzz looks like. Very similar.
Double blush. Okay.
Yeah. Just wait until they save Aerith so she doesn't die, and then her and Zack get married or something. Just wait for that.
Yeah, and Cloud dies, and then Cloud dies, and Aerith and Zack make little children. And one of them is then called Cloud, and the blondie.
They rename him Cloud, and then he goes in the past and ends up being Cloud's real life father.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the weirdest grandfather paradox ever. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Good idea, Vyzz.
Yeah. Sure. Oh man, don't sleepy see me.
I would never. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so going on to the last part of today's episode, we are going to talk about what the character reveals mean for the story of Intermission and the subsequent parts for Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I know that we did touch on this a lot just then and previously when we were talking about the characters as well. So I'm just quickly going to go through what I had written here. So I said that I had read somewhere that they're trying to kind of retell or redo the parts of the compilation game stories, and they're including them in Remake so that since like a lot of people may not have played the compilation games, not as many people had played those as played Final Fantasy VII OG. So they're taking the opportunity now to kind of get us comfortable with these characters that belong to the compilation games and explain their stories and have a connection to them now so that later on there's like a connection, you know what I mean? So it's not as abrupt where there's like a disconnect and then they introduce these characters that no one's ever heard of like later on. I said sometimes the stories were kind of hard to understand or a little bit more convoluted, and that it kind of divided the player base, I think, at the time. And for me, like I have friends that played all of the compilation games and the original game, they love them, and then I have friends that absolutely despise them, and they basically are like, it's a stain on Final Fantasy VII and it shouldn't be a part of it, and they choose to kind of forget about those games and only remember the original like game, and that's what the game is to them. It like the rest of the compilation don't exist. I think that they can be effective in including the compilation stories throughout the way that they are doing it and the way that we've been kind of shown this already. I do like the way that they're doing it. I think that if they do it properly and they take the time they need to be able to kind of retell these stories, but I guess in a better way that's more accessible to everybody, I think that the potential there and the lore there does help.
Yeah.
And I think that like obviously we're seeing Dirge of Cerberus like confirmed, right, in Remake, and I really love the story actually of Dirge of Cerberus. It's just that the gameplay for me wasn't enjoyable. So I think that if we get Vincent and they figure out a way to, like you said, Babyseal, just kind of like a way for the combat for Vincent, they improve it so it's not just like the way that it was. I don't think it will be, but if they can come up with something, they can really nail it. And I think that that will set the framework for like the combat and also fit into the story of the Dirge of Cerberus and, you know, interweaving that throughout Remake. And also, I hope that we get like a spotlight, you know, on Vincent and more background story in the subsequent parts as well. And, you know, because in the original, he's just kind of there, like in a casket, and you're like, what? You know what I mean? When you're playing through it, and then obviously you find out more when you play the compilation games, but I feel like it's going to be more effective, especially with Ever Crisis coming out in 2022. They're retelling all of these stories through that game, and then also with Remake being able to play through that, it's like you're going to know these characters, you're going to know the stories there, so it's going to make sense. So you're not just completely lost, like what is happening, you know? Because this story is huge, it's very complex, and it can be easy to kind of like not understand or grasp exactly what they were trying to tell, I think, in the compilation games throughout the years of these games, you know, being released, which was before, you know, the internet. So like the original came out, and, you know, looking online, even for me when I played the original and like the whole Zack story, I was so confused as a kid. Like I was like, what? Like what's happening? It wasn't until later when I actually figured everything out. And then I was like, oh, like it just, that broke my mind at the time. And now we're just kind of getting to another level where it's even more like complex, you know? It's like, oh, you thought you didn't understand Zack. Well, let's wait here and see. Okay. So whispers and everything, like you said, Zack is alive. Is he? Anyway, I think it's crazy, and I think that it can be done effectively, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, nothing makes a character easier to understand than time travel.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when this character is now alive and shows up in the same DLC and chapter where Yuffie is there and jumps in and saves the day and then disappears again.
All right, okay, we got it, Vyzz. I agree that I agree. Well, okay, so what do the character reveals mean for the story? I mean, and Remake moving forward. Well, okay, I do just want to address this because here's a good place to address this. One of the things that confused me about the reveals was that it sort of upset my understanding of the timeline of events, because all of the press release stuff, all the character bios seem to indicate that Yuffie and Sonon showed up together.
Yeah, that's also what irks me, definitely.
And it in the trailers, it very clearly has, Avalanche introducing Sonon to Yuffie, and so I guess the way that they could say is that they came separate, but or they were both sent by Goda or something, but took different paths to get there, and that's why they didn't know each other. But it's being presented as if they went on this journey together, and here they are. But there's that little detail where it looks like the game starts out and Yuffie has never met Sonon. Sonon isn't part of the party. She gets introduced to Sonon through events in the game. So I hope that's reconciled in a satisfying way. Probably will.
I hope so as well. Yeah, there's just one little thing I want to add. In the original game, Yuffie went away from home, just ran away from home to take matters into her own hands and find materia and bring back glory to Wutai. Here, it seems like she's just being sent by them. I have a feeling that she might just play the part, that she's actually ran away and then Goda or someone else sent Sonon after her and then contacted Avalanche HQ to just say, oh, well, we sent her and there's another one, and make sure they meet up and there's this mission. Kind of to cover up that she ran away and is this rascal, and maybe doesn't shine a good light on them, because then they wouldn't have any control over their subordinates, so to speak, and would maybe endanger the connections they have with Avalanche. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, Yuffie does very much seem like she's going rogue here, because remember she refers to it as the new provisional Wutai government, and who's making said provision? Godo's been in charge the whole time, so what's new about it? So it almost sounds like a lie. Like, hey guys, you're looking at Princess Kisaragi here, hook it up. So it's something, it does kind of track with what we know of her character.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
In the trailer, doesn't she say, also I just want to add, she says something to him about, doesn't she say like, you're not my brother, or
I'm not your sister.
Yeah,
so maybe he refers her to that, but then she is like, I'm not your sister because I'm not part of that anymore, because she's rogue, right? Like, she doesn't feel like she belongs.
I do believe she's rogue. Still. Like,
I think that's evident of that.
It's too fit into her character. Like,
she does what she wants. Yeah,
she does what she wants, and ever since, even in Crisis Core, she's depicted that way. So yeah, I'm of that mind. I think that's kind of what is being depicted there is that there's some deception, and that So there's that. I do really hope that nothing in Intermission is really going to be consequential to the main plot. I think I would like to see Intermission and Intergrade crack the door open on some mysteries a little bit, so that people that are, like the way that Final Mixes do, like, you don't need to have played it. If you play the next game, it will cover that again. I don't want you to get exclusive information that you're not going to understand overall down the line. I think that's the best way to go with Intermission. And also, as far as Vyzz and Deep Ground stuff, I think Intermission is the best place for current party members to have any kind of interface with any of the characters of Dirge of Cerberus, and that includes Genesis. Like, because really, they don't belong anywhere else. in the story. I don't see the additions of these characters adding value to the greater narrative. And even if they go off and veer in different directions, if things happen differently, my problem is character overhead, right? So each character's development takes a certain amount of real estate in the development of the game. And even if the events play out differently, which they might, I'm okay with that if they do. But if you're adding these compilation characters on an already packed cast of characters, we're talking main characters. We've got essentially the rest of the main characters being at least partially introduced in the next part. And existing characters getting major development arcs. Barrett and Tifa are both going to get major development arcs. Cloud is going to get a major and Red 13 is going to get the entirety of his development going on. So we've got the main 9 characters getting, taking up all this character real estate. Plus all these characters we haven't met yet that we really want a ton more of. We all want so much Bugenhagen, it's crazy. Like that, like his casting is going to be a big deal for us, So, so the issue I have with, and we know that Roche is going to be a part moving forward, so we're going to get more Roche. So we have these characters we're going to get more of. We're probably going to get On the Way to a Smile characters. We're probably going to get, maybe Evan Townsend and his mom. We might get those characters in Nibelheim. So with all this preponderance of character development, that's really, and more Rufus and all that stuff. And Rufus is a big deal. He's gonna be a big deal, I think. And all these characters need development, and so I would hope that this DLC can kind of draw a circle around references to these characters. Now, that being said, I think this DLC will have more references to these characters than we're seeing. In the initial Nomura interview, there is a final boss of Yuffie that is referenced that we have not seen yet. And it might end up being Sonon, like some super sappy
or Sonon's sister as a huge mutated monster.
Or Sonon's sister is Shelky, who knows? I think we'll see Shelky. I would bet like actual money that Shelky is going to be a primary antagonist. For a couple of reasons. One, she makes an excellent foil to Yuffie. And two, she's inexplicably showed up in Opera Omni. The Dissidia game in the Japanese version. And for reference, like that game is really cast heavy on Final Fantasy VII characters to the point where people are complaining like, hey, where are the rest of the Final Fantasy IX characters? And where are all these main characters? And like Red 13 isn't even a character yet. And so when Shulk the Transparent shows up, everybody's like, why? This is why. It's so you guys remember, hey, Shulk is a thing. And when she shows up in Intermission, you guys aren't going to be like, what? I'm pretty confident. And same with Genesis. Genesis, if he shows up in a referential fashion here, I think that would serve the narrative more than anything. I think it would get people interested in well, why is this here? And it would relate well to Ever Crisis and the ability to kind of look at some of those characters through the lens of Ever Crisis. I think it just serves the greater everything. And finally, I think that my other, I think, craziest prediction from all of this is that the Whispers will definitely make an appearance in Intermission. And that Yuffie will be able to see them. I think that all of the 9 characters that ultimately face Sephiroth in the end, because 9 is a big number symbologic. Like there's a lot of symbolism with the number 9. There's the 9 realms in Norse mythology.
Oh, right. That's why
there's 9 sectors, 9 reactors, because 0 counts as 0 through 8. And, you know, the final battle is, you know, always can be seen as this, this mixing of ideologies, or this clash of ideologies, like old world mythologies, Norse mythology, the nine, you know, the party represents that, and then new world ideology, new world mythology, you know, Judeo-Christianity, Sephiroth and Genova, all of those having, you know, that kind of ideology associated with them. So that juxtaposition, I think, is really important. So those characters are all important. Yuffie's one of the nine. And so I think that she's going to be able to see the whispers. I think it's possible she'll see the whispers and Sonon won't.
Okay.
I can see that, yeah, definitely. I still don't know where this would happen, where she would deviate. The only part I can see is if they do witness Platefall in some fashion, and they are at Platefall heavily. So that's the only thing I can rationally see. But the problem is I have with the timeline that they might not be able to be there because they're in deep ground right now, or during chapter 12.
Oh, okay.
Unless they
They might show us a scene.
Yeah, maybe. Or they escape deep ground during chapter 12. But that would be pretty short, and then they probably wouldn't be part of the later chapters. And I kind of have a feeling that it runs parallel, starting with chapter 8 and all through chapter 16, 17.
Yeah, I do too. I think that when Nomura said that Intergrade was meant to serve as a story bridge between the two parts, I think that means that either Intermission will actually end a little later than the game, or it means that some plot point of Intermission will help bridge the two parts together somehow.
Did he say that it's it does bridge the story, or rather just the different games in terms of technology? Because I kind of remember someone mentioning that he explicitly says it has nothing to do with the story. It's just the in between.
He didn't say that it has nothing to do with the story. He did mention technology though.
Yeah.
But you definitely can't rule out the story as
part
of
for sure.
that. Like, yeah. And so yeah, it's kind of hard to say what Nomura means when he doesn't necessarily always know it either when he says it. But you know, the last thing that I think is really exciting about Intermission is that the way that it establishes Avalanche and Wutai's relationship means that we're probably not done with seeing it, and that Wutai is going to be a major segment in upcoming games.
Yes, and, for sure.
And that struggle will continue on. And I think that's ways that we can see, you know, some of the other characters that mysteriously survived.
Exactly.
You know, Wedge and Biggs.
Especially Biggs, yeah.
Yeah. And see how they you know, maybe they show up in Wutai, and because I would like to see that struggle expanded, because that struggle actually told a really interesting story in Before Crisis that I think is worth looking at further, even though I think we'll see a good chunk of that in Ever Crisis. But of all the titles that are least accessible, Before Crisis is the only one that is virtually impossible to re-experience, you know. So I would love to see that struggle expanded more in future parts. And so that's really all I have to say on Intermission.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on there, especially the kind of a war trial between Shinra, Avalanche, and Wutai, if you can even call it that. This will be heavily expanded upon.
Yeah.
Especially in conjunction with Cosmo Canyon. Like we learn how it all started. That's where there could be some more references to Before Crisis. I still kind of hope that Veld or Verdo, or however you want to call him, there are two different names for him, I guess, and Elfe, they're still alive. So maybe they make an appearance in some shape or form somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
And yeah, this whole thing, especially Wutai, I think this whole struggle, as you mentioned, will drag through all the games until almost the end. Pretty sure. And during the last game, before we drop into Midgar, it will probably resolve in some way. Like until then, we should have finished all the main arcs besides the world-ending Genova Sephiroth arc.
Yeah. And the one little thing I want to add to how Avalanche relates to all this is one of the major we'll call it like a plot surprise in Before Crisis involved Rufus being involved in Avalanche, and I really want to see how that plays out. And I have so much to say on that I can't actually say it here because there's other projects that are being worked on that involve that. But so to quote Vyzz, we'll address that in another video.
Perfect. Yeah. Yuffie certainly will experience a lot of change and differences and expansions, a lot, to the point where I'm not sure if when she meets the other party members, Cloud and the rest, will it be similar? Will she stage an ambush in the woods, or will it be differently approached this time, or maybe even reworked or combined with Fort Condor in a way? Or we meet her in Calm already, as the new threat mod did, that she steals the materia from all, and then everyone chases her down, and then really the whole party is in the fight and fights her, and then she gives back the stuff. Something like that. That since she's seen the others before, especially Barrett, and then she might see the others again outside of Midgar, and those are the ones, those Avalanche. I'm sure they have materia. Or maybe there's even more nuanced and more motivations now, because she's familiar with Avalanche. Depending on what happens there, she is friendly with them still, or not anymore, which would then pose a completely different situation, or like a connection between her and Barrett. So yeah, this is really going to be very, very interesting for sure, because in the original she just was there, did the ambush, and if we did it right, then we could recruit her. Then there was just some random scenes in between if you wanted to, until Wutai. This is practically her thing, the Wutai arc, the side quests, and the rest she's not really in there. Has a few cool scenes, but that's about it. So I'm pretty sure they heavily, heavily expand upon her. So to the point that the way we recruit her in part 2 will be possibly quite different. Also, the circumstances and her connections to all those different factions. And Barrett isn't really such a Wutai fan, I suppose, especially because they keep getting referred to Wutaians or allies of Wutai by President Shinra, so he probably has an inner resentment against those, because the existence of Wutai and Avalanche and stuff, and their struggles with between them are like bad for Barrett's Avalanche cell. So all those little things and nuances, I'm really looking forward to how they'll be tackled and handled in part 2.
Well, I guess it depends. Like, I like what Babyseal had said about how the compilation characters, there's already, like, there's so many characters that demand our attention, and there's not necessarily enough time to kind of give to all of these characters. So it's not necessarily that, we're going to get all of the compilation stories given all of this extra time in the subsequent parts, but it could happen that the story that we get in Intermission directly impacts these characters, so that Yuffie is different, so that she does interact with the party differently when they do find her. Do you know what I mean? So the interactions are different. They're not the same interactions that we remember in the original. Unless this is a canon story that potentially happened in the OG and we just didn't see it happen. And the character of Yuffie that we see in the OG is the same one that we're seeing in Intermission, and then it just happens the exact same. But I don't know. It's just up for debate, and I guess we'll find out later once part 2 comes out. But I can see it go either way, obviously. I would like to see maybe a different type of interaction between her and the party and how they meet. I'm open to having it changed, you know what I mean? Or more fleshed out or whatever, so that it does fit in with the narrative of like what's happening in Intermission and the future parts, so it's not just kind of there, like we just kind of meet her like happenstance, you know what I mean? Like, which I don't think is going to happen. I think they're going to take the impacts, the things that happen in these stories, I think are going to impact the characters, and I think that it's going to be different, in my opinion anyway.
And I mean, she's already getting such a different, like whatever's going to happen, if she remembers what happens in Intermission, it's going to be harsh. Like, it doesn't seem like it's going to be great. Like,
I'm pretty sure she does. She does remember. That's my prediction.
I think so too. I think the 9 are all protected from. That's my own headcanon, but I think that she's gonna be a more complex character out the gate. And
for sure.
she's still gonna be lovable and plucky and stuff like that, but underneath, like, we're gonna see that much more as armor. We're gonna see her, exterior, and her pluckiness and her forgetfulness is something that she does as a mask for the pain.
Like a coping mechanism.
Because she does display some complexity when you go to Wutai, and she has that heart to heart with Godo, and it explains why she's like the weight of being the princess of this fallen kingdom, and that was great development for her as a character in OG, and now we've got great voice acting behind her on both sides of the fence, and we've got this extra opportunity to build her as a character. So yeah, I'm excited.
Definitely. I really hope, if that's the case, if all of her act is basically a mask, that we see this mask slip in certain situations. Especially in it depends where Aerith's death happens, but I hope it's still the same.
To bring that up.
Yeah, because there, even in the original, she just starts sobbing and crying and running away. It really hits her heart.
Her response to Aerith's death is my favorite. It's Tifa's is good too. But,
I was about to say it's Tifa's close behind.
But it's a where part of that facade cannot survive. Like the feelings are too strong.
It could even be that after this, after Aerith's death, that Yuffie changes.
Yeah,
and we really feel it. But then her arc, or at least the first part of her arc in Wutai, needs to happen before. And another one, which probably involves Avalanche and Shinra as well, is then the second part, which wasn't in the original. That happens in the last game with her and Wutai.
Right.
Which would then be pretty different, because if her mask really slips then, and she changes after Aerith's death, and maybe through the whole journey learns a lot more about Shinra and the world and the Avalanche and everything else, that she's most likely even able to help her homeland with the others.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that's expanded on in On the Way to a Smile, and to be able to like give better context to that, I think is a real golden opportunity.
Yes,
for her character development. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. But besides Yuffie, there's also something else I can see being impacted on because of this DLC. If it's actually the huge materia or some form of huge materia thereafter because the huge materia quest will eventually happen. And with Scarlett's experiments with or research and development, what's her department called again? It's not research and development, it's Hojo's, I think. Weapons development.
She's weapons. So
weapons
she's
development. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Her department also already plays around with materia. I think it's probably also part of the materia fusion in Crisis Core, if I'm not mistaken. That her department is responsible for that. Would make sense. I'm not exactly.
It would make sense. Yeah. It would make sense. Yeah.
Not sure if it's canon, but it would make sense. And here it's probably just more experimentations and the precursor to the huge materia. So this being set up here will most likely influence the huge materia quest, and I hope it's being heavily expanded upon and more integrated into the whole story, and not just Shinra bad, huge materia bad, we need to get them. They want to use them for blowing up meteor. We don't care. Shinra bad, we need to get them anyway. It won't work anyway. Let's just save the materia. It's a little bit too on the nose and too flat and too surface level. I think this whole side quest needs to have more depth and more integration into everything and all the character motivations and Avalanche, Wutai, Shinra stuff, and Cosmo Canyon, Livestream, Planet, Materia, Memory. I think this whole quest has so much potential to be something to be remembered and to bring all the concepts together that Final Fantasy VII has to offer, actually.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes today's episode. I just want to take a second to say thank you so much, Babyseal, for joining us today for this discussion about Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade, and Intermission. It was so awesome to sit here with you and kind of pick your brains about, potential theories and also what the character reveals mean for the story of Intermission and the subsequent parts of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So thank you so much. I know how busy you are, and I know, you take so much time and effort to put into your own content. So just the fact that you took the time out to spend, with us here today, I know Vyzz and I, we really do appreciate it. So I just want to say thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. You guys I could do this for several more hours, but we don't have time.
Yeah, that's true.
Vyzz has got to go to bed.
Yeah, soon. It's only 10 o'clock, so it's fine.
Oh. Well, that's the great thing about technology is we can talk all over the world. So
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, Remake has given me a lot of international friends, and I'm pretty grateful for that. Yeah,
same, definitely. So. It was good having you on. It's kind of a payback of some sort. So you had me on, now we have you on.
Yeah, and I'm having you on again in a couple weeks. So
true, and you're always welcome on here. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and likewise to both of you. So, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, we both could make an appearance at some point, like the reunion podcast joins SEAL Team 7 at some point in the future. Why not?
I would. Yeah, we will make that happen. We will get that on the books.
Sure.
Sounds
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'll get our people in touch with your people.
That sounds great. That sounds great. I'll go ahead and I'll get my people on the phone so that they can come here and get on the phone with your people. And
amazing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So if you have any ideas for upcoming topics, you can write us at thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. That's thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. We do have a Discord server. The link of our Discord server is actually listed in the description of each episode. So all you need to do is click on that link and you will be asked to join our Discord server, and I highly recommend it. And also, we do have a Twitter account. It's at reunion_podcast. And like I said, we are doing a digital deluxe edition giveaway of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade to one lucky listener. So what you have to do is go to our Twitter account, follow us on Twitter at reunion_podcast, and then go ahead and quote tweet or retweet the original posting about the giveaway that is pinned to the top of our profile. We do have a Facebook page. It's Reunion Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel as well. It's The Reunion Podcast, and we do post all of our episodes there on YouTube. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, write a review if you feel so inclined. Honestly, it is the best way to support us here on the podcast. Babyseal, did you want to drop your socials for our listeners, just in case they want to check you out?
Yes. So if you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Schrodingersbabyseal, you can follow me and hit the little bell, so you can get the VODs of all of my SEAL Team 7s. I do live stream them all on Twitch, .tv/Schrodingersbabyseal. In general, and I get a lot of support there too, and that can be fun. It can be a way for you guys to interact with my guests as well, so feel free to follow me there also.
That would be incredible. Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you go ahead, subscribe, like, and share everything that Schrodinger's Babyseal is doing, because it's absolutely incredible, and honestly, you just make the best content, and I'm a huge fan, so.
Likewise.
All right, Vyzz, did you want to go ahead and drop your socials for Cosmo Canyon Observatory?
Yes, for sure. YouTube is the first resource, of course, with all the analysis videos and the good stuff, and pulse of the live stream since a few weeks now as well. It's just Cosmo Canyon Observatory on YouTube. Then we also have a Twitter account at @cc_observatory, where we post stuff, retweet some stuff, but the actual gem and additional content are the CCO gems. It's an actual hashtag I use, CCO gems, where I just reveal or share other findings, mini analyses, just cool visual findings, or some other things I found which are just too small for videos. I'm currently going through the game again. I'm in chapter 12 right now. Posted yesterday something small about Reno hitting his head on the helicopter windshields on the side when Root steers away because he doesn't want to hit Tifa.
Yeah.
And more to come. Lately I don't have too much time, spare time for those CCO gems, because they also need time as well, like 1 or 2 hours to scroll through the footage and find something, make screenshots and stuff.
What do you mean? You don't have time?
No.
Come on. What else are you doing? No.
I'm just sitting around and talk to random people like now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And sleep, who needs sleep?
No, yeah.
Just sleep easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I really try to get those CCO gems going again, because I really love posting those, and some really gets the love back from people who like the content, retweet. It's really a joy. And last but not least, we have a Discord server. The link can be found in our Twitter bio, but also on the YouTube page, on the banner, the links, but also in all videos in the description. There's all the social links are there as well. And please join, because our Discord community is really lovely. We have always a good time there. Deep discussions, detailed discussions, analysis, but also random stuff and memes and everyday life stuff. It's really cool.
It's community. Awesome.
And
it is, yeah.
And you both are there as well. So if you want to talk to Schrodinger's Babyseal, it's there as well, if you want to.
And I won't be too spicy.
Well, you can. If you want to.
Is there such thing though? I don't know. Like a spiceless, a spicyless Schrodinger. I don't know.
Well, but if you are getting spicy, you need to change your nickname to Schrodinger's Spicy Seal.
Ooh,
I will.
I like
it's
that.
currently Schrodinger's Billy Bob, so.
All right,
Ooh.
yeah, that's also spicy. That's true.
Since that was a code name.
Yeah. Well, I'm Spicy Vyzz here on the Reunion Podcast Discord, so it's fine.
I need to change mine too to something clever. We'll see.
Yeah, sometimes change
Spiciosis.
Spiciosis.
Yeah. Something like that.
Let's all get spicy.
Spice.
Yeah. All right. So I just wanted to say thank you so much again to you, Babyseal, for joining us today on the podcast. It was so awesome having you here.
Literally
it was.
anytime.
Yeah, it was really awesome. Good times. Good 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours.
Enjoyable.
All right, guys. So until next time, this is Kai. I am signing off. All the best to you.
Stay safe and take care.
Same.
Bye, guys.